You know, I feel like we were just here doing another race, but now we're back, and this time with the Salty Sponge versus Marco in Winners Bracket Round 2. Hello, everybody. I've got Chimpen Reeve and Yoshi Kion joining us for commentary for this match, and I'm hoping it's going to be a very hype match. What do you guys think?
I'm so ready. This could be grand finals. This could be grand finals any tournament, and I'm so ready for this.
Yeah, grand finals Marco versus Sponge was probably a lot of people's genuine prediction, had they have been in different sides of the bracket. So this is gonna be hype. Also, how the hell do we beat the last stream? Like, seriously, I know I've said this already, but how on God's name do we beat the madness that just happened? Now, I'm not going to spoil what just happened. If you haven't seen it, go and watch the VOD after this one. But Jesus Christ.
I'd expect a very different race. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I can't imagine we see what we saw here. That's it. Unless we go 100% smooth brain, then we should be hype. More hype, less...
despair.
yeah, I guess. Jesus.
This one's been kind of funny. Okay, so I want to just touch on this quickly. There's been a little bit of a background to this, where like Sponge has been the up and coming runner for like the last year and a half or so, and Marco is obviously like the big name in the community at this point. You know, won season 2, runner up in season 3, like one of the old school runners who's been around since day one. There's been almost a rivalry building, and this is the first time they've actually gone 1v1, so I'm really excited to see how this plays out. Minuet start.
Yeah, Minuet
as a child.
Start. Pretty good.
Not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm alright with that. Any Minuet start's good. Wow. Wow. Okay. We get a 3-second advantage over season 3. Let's go.
Season 3, closed Deku. Let's do it.
Wow, that is unreal. To be fair, this start with Minuet is actually pretty good.
I'm not gonna lie, I was half expecting Kakiri Sword in Maido's house and just be like, let's go, it's a season 3 race.
Okay, well, we got a slingshot, so that makes Early Lost Woods even better, because we can get rid of Target in the Woods. No Saru song, of course, so the double dip is always potentially there. But that's not a bad Maido's house. Iron Boots, slingshot. This is set up pretty fairly.
Pretty nice, pretty nice.
Yeah, very quick. Sponge with the challenge. Let's go, 2 seconds.
Marco got caught on a fence. Marco has a history of close matches in tournaments. Season 3 combined 2 losses to Banuru that added up to a 21-second difference. And yeah, both just playing Minuet out of here makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Don't want to have to walk out of that.
And Song of Time.
It's not a great one early.
Nope.
Lost that 2-second lead to playing a song.
I was going to say, Marco gaining time because Sponge can't play songs. And that's Water Temple Foolish. Not something I expected in Season 4. No Darkling today unless the boss key's there, which it well could do.
Oh, jeez.
So that means Fire Temple is Way the hero, without a shadow of a doubt. Graveyard is also Way the hero, as per that hint stone.
Oh. And again, apparently.
The double hint. It's not super common to find those 2 in a row, so maybe we're looking at double Graveyard. Way of the hero.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too surprising. There's usually the song at the very least is high value, and well, talking of song hints, there's a Colossus Way of the Hero. Gotta hope that means an early Requiem for them. That would just be the nice, kind of comforting thing to find.
Yeah, it could be something fairly rubbish, like Requiem in the graveyard to get to Colossus, and then it's just like Nocturne in Colossus or something like that. But who knows? Maybe we'll have some Archway shenanigans.
Yeah, the last thing they want to see is something like Requiem on Ocarina of Time. That's like the worst AD song, I think, so... Yeah, getting that Colossus hint is at least a nice push in the right direction.
Also, get those predictions in. This is a tough one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like every match so far, I've given like a small edge to one person and been like, yeah, you know what, I can see this. I cannot pick either one of these to win. Like Marco is just always been essentially top of the ladder or thereabouts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Sponge has just been so consistent the past 6 to 9 months that it's really hard to vote against him. You know, I had a couple of dodgy races in the qualifiers, but so did Marco. So it's this is anyone's game, and I'm really.
I know not everyone will like get the analogy here, but if people know anything about like Smash Bros. Melee competitive like SBM tournaments, there's like an ongoing thing of like the 5 gods of Melee who were players who won every tournament over a span of like 5-6 years. Historically, I always spoke about like the 5 gods of Rando, which were ATZ, Marco, Banuru, Duke, and what the hells. And by that analogy, Sponge is Leffen. He's like the up-and-comer who's appeared since, who now competes at that level, but appeared like a bit after the others. We are seeing very similar routing in the early game here. Like, they're both just...
There's no better route, to be fair.
This makes perfect sense, yeah.
Songs are really important in Season 4, like, more than they've ever been. So, just going for Long on Ranch here makes perfect sense. If this is something like Requiem, that is amazing. Gets you to that Colossus nice and early. Even if it's just any other warp song, convenient. We've got Zelda's Lullaby defined. Song of Storms early would be really good. So, yeah, you could argue that there are, you could choose Remote Grotto into Lake and then do this afterwards. Remote Grotto into Valley into Lake, but Time of Day is decent. You get the Owl, you head back into Ranch. But I know Sponge in particular doesn't like Valley, Lake.
Feels like a gamble, I think. If you're gonna go adult anyway to do the Kakariko stuff, to check your save warp, like, you want to get all of that out of the way, and then if you've run out of options there, you can go child and do Valley Lake from Market really easily.
Yeah. Now, Saria Song there is a little bad, because you've just been to Lost Woods. The next time you go to Lost Woods, you're going to be an adult, like, it's almost guaranteed. So, if there's something early on Skull Kid, you are not getting that for another 45 minutes. So they better hope that it's not required. And that is the prescription.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a divergence already. Oh, no. Never mind. Marco changed his mind on that one. But yeah, like, the Lost Woods routing is always awkward. The kind of, I guess the saving grace on it is, they're going to want to route in Skull Mask potentially at some point soon enough anyways.
Yeah, that will help to potentially go back there. And with Minuet, it's not too bad. Obviously, the spawn today is fine anyway, so getting back to Lost Woods is pretty simple. But no Nocturne, no Prelude just yet, so actually setting up the Skull Mask isn't super simple. Will take more effort than normal. And both into Market, this makes sense. Get some early hints at the temple. I doubt we're going to see Valley into Lake after Market here. I reckon both of them are going to go adult.
Yeah, Kakariko too strong right now. Like, you need to get that song check. Find out if it's Zelda's Lullaby, if nothing else. Like, a couple of warp songs would be really good. You want to check the graveyard for that Way of the Hero hint. And then if there's nothing in that early adult, if it doesn't push you anywhere, well, you can go child, walk out the market, and go to Valley Lake.
Arcanist Richard, first cycle, which is fine. You can get it second cycle. Just quickly nip into outside Gannis Castle, set time of day. Hopefully by then you'll have Nocturne, so you can do Richard as Darnpay digging. But it's one of the more awkward checks in Season 4. Getting Richard early is not simple, unless you've got Sun Song.
Yeah, it's weird that, like, in Season 3 and before that, it was like, alright, 10 minutes in, you've checked Richard. Pretty much every time. And now it's like, 2 hours checking Richard. Yeah, sounds about right.
Money back.
It's like-
Alright, both going to grab the Keaton Mask here. Probably not going to do anything with it for a little while, but just get it now, set it up.
Again, like you said earlier, if you get Nocturne, you want to set your time of day to do Richard and then play Nocturne, and you can go and turn in a mask. Like, perfect timing. You're already up there.
Okay, Cack Way the Hero. Zora River is
Who's
dead. Zora's
River?
Domain is Way of the Hero, and 30 Skulls dead.
That's... Okay, so Way the Hero is terrible, but, like... Zora's Domain?
Yeah.
Zora River Foolish? Like, those are big.
Yeah, Zora Domain is quite nice. You've already started off with one medallion, so we're potentially one more medallion and a bottle away from being able to check King Zora. No way into Domain just yet anyway, so you could argue if they had bomb chews, they might be able to just head down there and check that now, but not really worth it. Just go to CAC, get some, what is almost certainly going to be an item on adult CAC at this point, and see where we go from there. Early Dodongos is typically the play if we find bomb chews or bombs.
Even Strength or Hammer could just push you into Dodongo's Cavern pretty easily as well. There's definitely a high value play in the early game.
Okay, so we've got our medallions. We've got Jabu, Forest, Fire, Shadow, and Dodongos. Not a terrible set of medallions. Means we have Spirit, Water, and Deku as our stones. Unsure what the song on Ocarina of Time is today. That is Sun Song on Minuet, which is really nice.
And Foolish Stone Water. Always one you want to see.
Yes, but again, no sign of what the song is yet, so we could still see Dark Link today if there's a boss key on Dark Link, and Ocarina of Time is something like Nocturne. And that is a garbage spawn.
That's a pretty bad one. Is it too early for worst case scenario calls?
Nah, it's never too early for worst case scenarios.
So, Ocarina of Time for Zelda's Lullaby, and then an item on one of the Zelda's Lullaby checks in Spirit.
Oof. Zelda's Lullaby and Ocarina of Time with Water and Spirit is a stone?
Unlikely, but possible.
I'm not even sure if that's a bad... Well, I'm not even sure that's worst case scenario, knowing that water is just free.
It's the item in Spirit afterwards that would do it. It has to be the item in Spirit.
Horrendous.
Just making this at a nice time of day there. Do not want it to turn to night with Way the Hero Cack this early.
Yeah, both of them essentially the same time of day as well, because the route has been exactly the same. Marco with a slight execution lead over Sponge. Right now means nothing, but later on down the line, as you said earlier, we've seen Marco win races and lose races by a matter of seconds, so...
And yeah, you absolutely don't want to wait the time of day outside it would take to play Suns, and then wait for it to change back to day to get in.
Yeah. Okay, so nothing so far. Remember, CAC is Way of the Hero. That is a heart container and just some Deku nuts, so... Let's see if the song is going to be any good.
Still the best, in my opinion, the best Season 4 change. No Zelda's Lullaby being hinted.
Yeah, it's a really good change. For those that don't know, in Season 4, Zelda's Lullaby cannot be hinted Way of the Hero. That was specifically changed. Zelda's Lullaby, Way of the Hero didn't really provide much information and was essentially always taking up Way of the Hero stuff. And there is my least, my least favorite early song in the game.
Right, so there's been two jokes with the Season 4 meta so far. One is Rush Dark Link. We know we're not getting that one today. The other one is Rush Gerudo Training Grounds.
Yeah.
No items. You got one check, it's the Salphos. Go in and do it. Great. The explosives on Anju, probably only a 5-pack.
5, that's not great. 5 chews. Nothing worse for me than starting a seed with only 5 chews, because chew scumming can win or lose the game this early. It's rare that it affects you that big, but if you use a chew in the right area and get paid out, then it can really just set you up nicely.
I really thought you were about to say if you chew through them.
I was really messing up my words there.
Okay. I love that kind of seed, but part of it is that it's really interesting to me that like there are some seeds where that will be the difference between winning and losing. The issue is you don't know that going in. So you could safe scum your bomb choose really aggressively, do a whole bunch of checks, spend a bunch of time resetting back to save those chews, and then just find 2 bomb bags in quick succession, and all that time was wasted.
Alright, so notably, we didn't find any items in Kakariko. We've still got a few items left to check. Not that we can check at the moment. We've got the Redead Grave. There's a scale in the graveyard. That's interesting for Way the
Domain.
Okay. Could be domain access. We've got domain Way of the Hero.
Yeah.
So maybe bomb bag and domain or something early like that. That is the Stone of Agony. We're not going to see that being
Not
picked
quite.
up today.
Yep. Definitely 2 very ambiguous Way of the Heroes early though. Epona's Song and a Scale.
Yeah.
Fun ones to follow. You know, both of these runners we mentioned kind of have been at the top of the game for a while. But Marco definitely has a reputation as a bit more of an execution player. More than, like, the logic and... I think he still has the routing edge there, but, like, the routing side of his is generally very statistical, whereas Sponge is somebody who routes based around, like, a little more on, like, instinct sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think has, like, a very good grasp of logic.
I'd also say Marco is very conservative. Because of Marco's execution, Marco is more than happy to be conservative, not skip checks, not be aggressive, because there's no need. The execution of a long race goes in Marco's favor. And nothing on Dampe. So far, our Way of the Heroes are Epona's in Kakariko Village and a Scale in the graveyard. Nothing else. We've still got checks in both of those locations, but that's all we've got to be pointed at so far. And it is nice to be able to just play the Song of Time to head through the windmill here. Cheeky little time save. I wonder if we're going to see the Redead Grave here. It's not the best place to scum. So, oh no, we are going to see it from Marco at least.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Sponge did save after the Dampe race there, so I'm wondering if he's planning something similar with the chews here, but...
Maybe they're... I'm thinking... What you could do here is to do like a general... Oh, that's huge! Alright, they both went for it, and that is a hammer.
Way of the Hero, it's Cat Way of the Hero covered. But the question there is, where's the logic?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's semi-likely there could be a bomb bag in Domain at this point.
Would not be surprised to see it.
Of course, both of those runners are going to think exactly the same thing. I don't think any of them are going to concern themselves with rushing that. Although saying that, Marco is... Okay, we have a divergence.
We have our first big split, yeah.
Step by step so far, but Marco is out of here. I wonder if he's rushing Domain. I was then going to say I don't think there's a strict need to rush Domain here. But maybe that's the plan for Marco. Go into Valley, go into Lake, check the Domain Way of the Hero. Whereas Sponge is heading into the Goron City / Deathmap Crater area, potentially into Dodongo's Cavern as well. We've got enough juice to finish it. Get all the way up to Dodongo. Can't quite finish it with just what choose.
Yeah, one short on that. Actually, wait, no, you could... Yeah, you can beat it with exactly 4. It is 4 to beat Dodongo's Cavern with the chew strat.
No, you need 1 to lower the staircase, 2 in the eyes, because we don't have the strength.
Oh, right, sure, no bow or strength. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of the staircase. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks like the play that Marco's making. Interesting. There's nothing wrong with it. You know that you're potentially going to get paid out by this check. It does take a little while. If Sponge finds something like Letter here, then Marco already loses time by having to go back and, use the letter. to get to Ice Cavern. Oh, there's Kakiri's sword.
Oh. Now that's not amazing right now. Stone Deku, it's good for checks when you do go child. So Sponge will have a more efficient child 2 than Marco has. But it's not required progression. It's honestly like you're still happy seeing it this early. I didn't see the rang up here.
Oh, that's a boomerang.
I did not see that one.
So this could really go not super like south for Marco, but again, if Sponge now finds the letter, Sponge can just do Jabu, which is the forest medallion, which is a pretty big deal.
I was going to say the other big option here is that its letter is in domain, and your forest medallion locks your Zelda's lullaby.
Yeah, that could definitely.
Also, Big Goron dead. They don't have to go back for the prescription.
Yep. The Goron dead, as well as the treasure chest game was dead in the Goron City Maze there, so no lens bait today. Well, I guess we could still have lens bait to get us to Colossus, but nothing in the treasure chest game. So I think Dodongo's is a good play here. You know it needs doing.
Mm-hmm.
It typically pays out like quite regularly, I'd say. Just early Dodongos normally has something in it. Don't really know the statistics on how often it would, but you know, how many seasons you watch where Dodongo's Cavern has a bomb bag, for example?
Right, where Deku Tree used to be in like seasons 1 to 3, Dodongo's Cavern has kind of taken that place of just it's your early game dungeon. It's like high density, bunch of checks in a quick succession. The requirements to go in are so low that you're almost always doing it early anyway.
Is Marco gonna scum this shoe? I guess they don't really. I guess they're a little less concerned now that they have a hammer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thing in there anyway, so.
I almost wonder how much of this is Marco just kind of playing towards the idea of Domain having bomb bag as well.
To be fair, if I'm not entirely sure you rush Domain if you think it has a bomb bag. You've got a hammer, and sure, you've only got 5 bomb chews, but a hammer and 5 chews can, you know, it can get you places. So
yeah,
I can see why you'd want to have a nice early bomb bag, but I think you can do enough with like what Sponge is doing here into DC that I wouldn't necessarily just like prioritize it immediately.
Yeah, I think I agree. You've got like a decent number of checks here, all in logic. I guess we touched on the fact that like if it's, you know, Sponge finds letter or letter is in domain, then that's really bad for Marco. I guess the flip side to that is if it's hookshot or hover boots in domain, then Marco can get the Crater song where Sponge won't be able to.
Yeah, I agree. Ooh, okay.
Magic in Valley.
Valley, very nice. I don't think that Sponge is going to miss that though. Again,
No.
with the main way the hero, unless Sponge somehow gets Serenade in his Adult 1 cycle here, which I don't think he'll do unless there's like a hook shot in this chest, which there isn't.
Worth noting though. Wait, is that?
That's a strength. Okay.
Okay, it is worth noting, Sponge safe scummed the chew he used on the staircase, so he's using the 4 to beat DC.
Yeah.
He safe scummed that chew, didn't find anything, and is just going to beat Dodongo's Cavern right now.
To be fair, I'm not sure if he does beat DC here. No, he is. Okay.
Yeah, he's got 2 to open the eyes and 2 to beat King Dodongo. And
Yeah, I was
he's
just
hammer for... Yeah.
I was just wondering if it's worth it. Like, essentially, you've only got 2 more checks and you're wasting 4 chews to get it. So I'm wondering if it's even worth using those 4 chews here. Again, now that you have somewhere else to go, such as Domain, you could argue that leaving here and going to Domain would work.
Yeah.
Save those chews for a couple of child checks whilst you're there.
It's interesting, because, yeah, like, he's probably assuming he's going to get a bomb bag either from Domain or somewhere... What was that one?
What was that on Frogs 2? Was that a Deku shield?
Okay, dead. Cool.
I got really excited for like a second, but unfortunately, no frogs 2 today.
But yeah, so the thing for Sponge is that, yeah, getting back here is kind of awkward right now. So I think if you're banking on the fact that you're going to get a bomb bag reasonably early, even if that's just because of the bomb-locked hammer, then using up your choose to beat the dungeon now, on the basis that you're probably getting bombs soon enough anyway, is a pretty reasonable play.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right, Sponge gonna save again just in case this goes wrong. For anyone who's not seen the bomb chew strats for King Dodongo, there's a couple of ways to do it, but the most consistent one, and I assume the one that Sponge will go for here, generally involves trying to ground jump off of the bomb flower in the corner. So you set up a ground jump using the bomb flower and King Dodongo rolling into you, and then basically hop the bomb chew into his mouth as he opens it.
Which shouldn't work, but this is a wonderfully coded game, so...
It just sees there's a bomb in his mouth and goes, yep, okay, done.
It's funny, because King Dodongo is the easiest boss in the game, you could argue. But this is one of the hardest strats to beat a boss in the game. You know, when you think about Rando itself, it's not easy to do this.
Yeah, in terms of Rando, I think the only one I can think of that's harder is probably the one-cycle Phantom Ganon.
Oh yeah, that is incredibly difficult. But at least with... That's just a speed-up of the boss, you know? This is something specifically to kill the boss.
Yeah.
Without the subsequent item. And to be fair, I guess it's the only other... Outside of Goma, it's the only other boss you can even do that with. You can't skip items for any of the others.
Oh!
Okay. There's our first hook shot. 40 skulls.
Damn. Stone water, though. So, typically speaking, both of these players are very confident with skulls, and both of these players will see progression item and go, I have to get that progression item. There's more of a precedent for Marco doing it in a 1v1. There was a Season 3 match against Earlweird, I want to say, where 50 Skulls had a bow, and Marco just went straight for it.
Notably, though, Sponge will have a boomerang in his Child 1, whereas Marco won't. So, when it does come to Skulls, Sponge should get a few more than Marco. If they decide to gamble for that hook shot, it could be the long shot, as you say, with Stone Water. That might not be required. But you don't risk that. There is no way you risk that is your long shot, in my opinion.
I agree, yeah. I think what they'll probably do is they'll make, like, conservative skull routing plays, so they'll get skulls that are near their checks, and they'll go out of their way to get checks. You know, they might prioritize Ice Cavern a little higher than they would otherwise, because they can get the skulls there.
By the way, Yoshi, you know you said earlier that Sponge just says Rush GTG. Oh, no, there we go. I thought that Sponge was on his way to GTG there, but has not chosen to take that bait. We don't know if it's bait, but my word.
Honestly, would have been a bold call at this.
Yeah. There it is. There's your bomb bag.
Honestly, would have been a bold call at this point, though, to do GTG, because you can get the song there as well. Like, you can go over to Colossus, get the song out of Logic, and just see if that's your way of a hero as well. Yep. And if that's something like Zelda's Lullaby, then great. You can be so much more efficient. The downside to it is, obviously, it takes a long time to get there. Probably not worth it in the long run.
Yeah, and there is a reasonable chance that you could just find Requiem, and every single second you take to get there is wasted because you find Requiem. So it might be still required. Who knows? It could be Requiem in Colossus for all we know. Or something on Child Spirit, but unknown right now. So yeah, bomb bag and domain as we predicted. It makes sense. Hammer in a bomb lock location with an early scale in Way of the Hero graveyard. So it was also pointing towards that.
So worth noting as well, I think with what they've got, 40 Skulls might be in Logic. It's definitely close.
I don't think though that they do without a bottle.
The bottle adds 7 right now.
Yeah, I'm almost certain with just a boomerang and
bombs.
No access to
Bombs add a surprising amount.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But yeah, a bottle I think would definitely do it. It's probably close right now. If it's not in logic, then it'll be, you know, mid-30s.
And there is our lens. So we are essentially hovers away from accessing Colossus.
Okay, yeah. I guess that's good. Colossus is Way of the Hero. You don't want to, like, follow a Way of the Hero hint later and end up getting lens from it, so...
I mean, it was only in Marco's last race that you were required to cross the wasteland. It was absolutely hard required. So we could see that again today.
Nothing from Richard. Did Marco get Richard on the way through?
I did not see Marco get Richard. I don't think it was nighttime for Marco. But I could be wrong.
He did?
He did. Okay.
I know it was close to night in Kakariko, so I was like, it would make sense, but I don't remember seeing it. So I just missed that one, I guess.
Alright, just a heart container on Skull Kid, so that's almost all of Lost Woods finished now. 35 skulls and logic.
35, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
OoT Prelude is, on the one hand, great. You don't have to do your stone dungeons. On the other hand, we're hiking today.
Yeah, it's a real swings and roundabouts hint, that one. It's like, well, this is great because now it's definitely not all dungeons, but also I'm going to be booking my ass out of Lon Lon Ranch about 9 times today. And both, it seems, choosing Deku Tree as their next play.
I like this. This is a lot of early game checks, you know. People spoke about like the season 3 meta and how it was rush Deku Tree, and while I don't think it was as clear cut as it like, I don't think that's as clear cut now as it ended up being. But if you do think that rushing Deku was the best play, then yeah, Sponge going to Deku for items makes perfect sense.
My mistake, Marco does not have the Kakiri sword, so it's not going to Deku Tree. Looks like they're going to the river, grab some beans, or are they heading to chickens here? Can't quite tell by this angle whether they're going to Kakariko.
This looks like Kak, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this is a combination of like, oh, it's the skulls as well, isn't it? This is pushing that hook shot.
You've got Sun Song, so you can do Darnpei digging, you can get all of the skulls. Nothing wrong with this.
Mm-hmm. Again, worth noting, Sponge doesn't know it's 40 required yet.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be surprised if they hard skip the skulls here with the boomerang. It's fairly quick to get these ones.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, like, there's definitely a couple that Sponge might end up just walking past, not realizing it's required. With that said, I imagine his play from here is to go up to Lost Woods, and then go river to Domain that way.
Yeah, I can see Sponge skipping the ones like the one on the back of the Know-It-All Brothers house at night time.
I think he grabbed that on the way in, so that one's
Oh, did he
fine.
grab that? Oh, more shoots. Okay, so this is good for Sponge. Depending on... I mean, I don't think you skip Domain Way the Hero regardless, but there is definitely an argument for just, if that's a 20-pack, just head back to a doll, go to GTG, cross the wasteland, etc.
It feels... I think the one of the big things that's going to come into play in this seed a lot is the amount of time travel they do. I think they're going to... well, only Marco has the OoT hint at the moment, or only Sponge has it? I forget who got that now.
It was Marco.
It was Marco, wasn't it? Yeah. Sponge will presumably check that soon, though. And at that point, you want to limit the amount of time you're traveling back and forth, because you know that every single time you make an age change, you're doing a lot of traveling.
So, rather awkwardly, Marco has only got 9 skulls. Cannot get the 10th, because they don't have a boomerang. And there's a wallet.
That?
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
that's a...
So far, our Graveyard Raider heroes are a scale and a wallet. I mean, we've already seen the scale pay out, so
Right.
we can be fairly comfortable as that.
Probably scale to bomb bag, locking the other scale at least. And then... Oh, that would have to lock Zelda's Lullaby as well? No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Ignore me. It would have to lock the scale and the other bomb bags. That one.
So we've got a chicken's play for Marco, 30 odd minutes in. It makes sense.
I think, yeah. Like, again, you touched on it earlier. Marco tends to be a very thorough player. Very conservative, I think was what you said for it, and it makes sense. Sponge, I think, doesn't think chickens is bad, but he also won't make a point of doing it every single time.
Yeah. So that was nothing in Decutry apart from a bottle. I think. Did they find a bottle? Someone mentioned a bottle in Decutry.
It's not on any of the trackers, at least. I think I was more like speculation.
Right, okay. So nothing in Decutry at all. So that was not.
Yeah, he
the best.
got the bomb tube refill, but he's gonna go and get the bomb bag like immediately afterwards, so it doesn't do much.
And it was wait. They've got 10 shoes, so it was the 10 pack, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he'd used up all of the others in Dodongo's Cavern.
So pretty much the worst luck you can get for finding 2 sets of bomb shoes, but won't be a concern for much longer, thank you. And that was nothing on chickens. No, Sponge doesn't have the 40 hint yet. That is in domain. They will get that very soon. Of course, the problem here for Sponge is that they're in Lost Woods, so you know the river's dead. You can't dive into river. So from here, they have to go all the way to lake or valley, or they need to go down the river and grab a chicken and run back up.
Yeah, I think, honestly, that is not unreasonable at this point, because you also want to grab at least one bean for the potential Colossus. So I think going down river and then back up is the most likely scenario here.
Yeah, I agree. Which is potentially really bad for Sponge. Because they are not going to get the strength and magic unless they choose to do Valley Lake.
Mm-hmm.
As Chat pointing out, obviously Valley Lake into Domain is longer, but it's way better. Like,
it's more checks. The flip side to it is that the Valley checks you're able to pick up as... or you're able to at least check as adult when you head over towards Gerudo Training Grounds. So I think there is that flip side that, like, Sponge knows he can get those reasonably soon anyway.
Side note, Marco doesn't know the treasure chest minigame is dead, so we do somehow get to see treasure chest minigame today. What junk I'm gonna be though? Recovery heart? $5?
Not seeing any right answers, at least.
$5.
Oh, so this is another fun one that came up a fair bit. I actually remember the conversation about this. Sponge asked in one of the race discussion channels on the Discord, "Oh, who goes out of their way to check the Medigore on him?" And immediately, like 4 or 5 people answered, like, "Oh yeah, I do it. And Sponge was like, "Cool, I'm doing it every time. I can't lose to everybody else who's doing it, so I have to do it."
Good hint. Good hint there, though.
It was a
sometimes hint saying that Storms is a prelude. And there is a mirror shield in Bombchu Bowling, which we don't know if we need just yet.
Yeah,
Probably
not really
don't.
what you want to see, but maybe. I actually would not be surprised at this point, by the way, if Burning Kakariko is Zelda's Lullaby.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's more likely. It's more likely it's Colossus, but
I mean, technically, we are.
It can't be Colossus.
We are hook and letter away from getting Burning Cat.
yeah, and
Potentially a bow. Oh wait, no, not potentially a bow. Definitely a bow.
definitely.
I was thinking, oh, we might need a bow for fire, but we definitely need one for Forest Temple. So. Marco picking up the Skull Mask and is going to do that Adult 2 cycle. So from here, Dodongo's Cavern makes perfect sense for Marco.
Mm-hmm. So it's worth noting that, yeah, Marco's big thing right now is the magic and strength in Valley. Sponge's route so far has been far more efficient, I think. He's basically covered the same ground and then some. And the flip side is like Deku Tree versus Valley. In theory, Deku Tree should be more valuable. In practice, well, Valley was 2 for 2 on items.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Valley into Lake is 4 checks. You know, Deku is 7, so it's not like wildly disproportionate. And you also get a couple of hints around both of them. So I'm not saying you should do Valley Lake instead of Deku Tree. Definitely not suggesting that, but it's it's not the worst decision. All right, picking up some beams of Sponge here then. Yeah, as you say, heading into Domain. We'll find their bomb bag. We'll be able to pick up Mirror Shield on the way out of their child cycle. Don't really know what else they can do here as child, unless they really want to force Valley Lake, but I can't see them doing that from here.
That is a lot of beans. Is that 3?
I think it was 3, yeah.
So, 1 for the Colossus, 1 for Lake Hylia, and 1 for the crater?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. We've not been in the crater yet. We don't know what's up there. No sign of a hook shot. And we know... we know that no sign of hover.
And if you get Bolero, then and no hookshot and hovers, then that's the best way over as adult. Like, play Bolero and just cross over to Death Mountainside. Like, that's great.
What was that bomb shoot? Did Marco drop that accidentally, or did he actually? No. I think he went for Link the Goron with that bomb shoot, which would have been incredible.
Ambitious, but yeah.
That would have been amazing.
I wasn't sure if Sponge was going to grab the 50 rupees there, because he won't have enough for diving game right now, but he's just going to grab the pot in Domain, I guess.
Yeah, it certainly only needs 5, so... Right, Marco picking up his Kakiri sword. Might feel a bit aggrieved that they found that now instead of beforehand. Obviously, they don't know that Deku Tree has nothing in it, so... Is inefficient to go back all the way for that, of course, but as long as they stay adult, I'm almost certain they have to find something in this adult cycle here.
True, yeah, I guess the question is where is it in this adult cycle, because if it's like GTG, you don't want to cross over to like the other side of do all of like fortress stuff and cross over that way for what's effectively like what 5 checks you can do in logic there.
Well, they've got Song of Time, so you can dip into GTG, you can do some of right side, of course they've got a bottle bag.
Right.
The Stalfos, potentially a couple of checks in the center of the maze. If they want to do hookshot as GTG, that's even more. Marco finding out that Song of Storms is there. On the prelude check. So I actually see going over to Colossus as a potential play here. It's definitely not fast, but you're not getting any more songs for a while.
I think it's reasonable, mostly for that way of the hero. The kind of question on Marco's end is, do you cross over there knowing it's out of logic and getting, 5 checks in GTG plus whatever you get via keys opened? Or do you go child to do Deku Tree first? Or do you find something before that? That's kind of the big turning point I think we're looking at right now. Because if they find something earlier, great. They find something earlier and move on.
I think Deku Tree feels really bad though, because again, no prelude, no nocturne, no serenade. So getting back to the Temple of Time sucks. Absolutely sucks this seed. At least for now. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a bit more of a desire to stay as adult here, get the song from Colossus, which could be Zelda's Lullaby, which then in turn might get them a song from the Graveyard, which could be Nocturne and Requiem.
Yeah.
Dot, so we know we're not in logic for the hook shot just yet. We need a bottle or access to another couple of areas.
It would have to be bottle or the other hook shot, right?
Well, let's see. If we get to
Requiem would open up.
Then we can get the
1,
two
2,
skulls,
3.
Spirit.
I think that opens up 3 more total. You get 1. I guess if there's a key on Child's side, you get 2 in Spirit and then 2 in Colossus. 1 from the bean patch and 1 from planting the bean.
Well, we can only get the bean patch one with a bottle. Not.
Oh, sure, yeah. Planting the bean only. Don't know why I'm... It's very rare that we're talking about skull logic and not having a bottle. So that would put you up to 38. I don't think... And then Bolero would be 39? No, it still wouldn't. I'm still... Bolero! Bolero would be enough, wouldn't it, with the hammer?
Bolero would get you at least 3 without.
It would get you the ones in fire, so yeah. Or some of the ones in fire. So I think getting Bolero plus Requiem would do it, but the question is, where are you getting Bolero plus Requiem right now? I guess Requiem, if you pick up Requiem, that could lead to Bolero. Way of the Hero Bolero for Skull Logic, can we get that?
I think you can.
Get Requiem, Bolero in Colossus, Way of the Hero for Skulls.
I mean, I'm not going to say that's what's happening, but you definitely can.
No, I think it's incredibly unlikely, but it's possible.
Alright, so is this... Yeah, it looks like Sponge might do Valley here, then.
That seems reasonable. I guess the flip side is he did Child Lake. He can get the others Valley checks as adult, or at least look at them as adult.
They only have 4, they're 4 rupees shy.
Oh, did he not plant the bean either? That is definitely costly.
Oh, that's not great. One more rupee. There it is. So I imagine Sponge is going to go all the way to the remote row up here.
Yeah, I imagine.
Oh, there it is. There's letter. We are now.
So you've got letter, you've got your bottle for the skull logic. If nothing else, like letter itself opens up even more, but if nothing else, it's a bottle.
Yeah.
So we're well over 40 comfortably.
Oh yeah. So that is incredibly good for Sponge. Needless to say, very good for Sponge here.
Finding that in the child section as well is so big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just getting to go do Jabu right now and picking up storms. Like, yeah, that's amazing.
What's worse for Marco is that there's no real need to go and activate the Scarecrow at this point. So unless you specifically want to go all the way to check the Hyrule field checks, you didn't have a bean planted, you don't have any need to get the Scarecrow, then Marco could actually not get that for a decent chunk of time.
Yeah, I guess the saving grace for Marco is, you know, we were talking earlier about wanting to cross, and the best way to do that is going to be to ride Epona over to Gerudo Fortress. And if you're riding Epona through field anyway, you want to check those grottos on the way. I'm pretty sure Marco got the Tektite grotto earlier, so...
Yeah, but they're not on the way. Like, you can't get to Lake and then go from there. There's no Serenade, so you would have to go out of your way significantly.
Yeah, it would be Market to Remote Grotto and down.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean,
to be fair, isn't unreasonable, but it's also... It feels slow, for sure.
It does feel slow. With how relatively dry this is, like... Despite us having like 7 or 8 items, they're all... They're not huge items to find to really unlock the map, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was the play. But there is... And it wouldn't surprise me if you skipped it. You know? You skip it and maybe you think, oh, okay, I'll get those on my next child's side. So we shall see.
Also, since people are talking about the skull logic in chat, I do want to point out, yeah, it's 7 with the bottle because of the warp songs, but we know that it will give Song of Storms. So it does open up potentially more in the well, depending on how the keys play out. But yeah, 48 would be a safe bet at this point. Either way, comfortably enough to get the hook shot.
I tell you what, though, Sponge had every right to not do Valley here. After finding that letter, knowing you can do Jabu, there is every sense to not doing this. So it's very good for them to have chose Valley as a play, because we know that.
Yeah. I guess part of it is that this is the efficient way to route it, like, go through this route, because you're going to get the Skull in Valley on the way, you get these checks, and no matter which way you go, you're going towards Lake to dive through to Zora's Domain afterwards. So this just ends up being the way to Zora's Domain that gives you some checks, I think. Alright, well, Marco done with King Dodongo, tying up the medallion count. The question is, where does Marco go from here?
I was thinking to say, one thing we haven't spoken about is Ganon's Castle. They have, we have access to Ganon's Castle with 2 medallions, and it's one of the big things this season that has changed, so we now have access to that. Side note, big thanks to Pinky Rose for the raid of 81. Welcome to one of the most hype matches we've had in Season 4 thus far.
Yeah, for everyone joining, we are in some pretty spicy territory, I want to say. 40 skulls for a hookshot. And... They're catching up with each other on the items at this point, but there's still that little bit of a divergence on what they have and haven't done. I guess the notable one is that Ruto's letter was in the Hyrule Field Scrub.
Yeah, that is the big thing thus far.
And yeah, to touch on the Ganon's Castle thing, I like going into Ganon's Castle early, but I feel like this is still a bit too early. Like, I think you can get, what, 4 5 checks in logic in there. So you get the 2 in water trial, the 1 in forest trial, the boss key chest, and the first one in shadow trial.
Yep, that's right. That's all you can get so far. I don't think it's a bad play though. 5 very quick checks, you might say. The longest part of that is actually getting into Ganon's castle. But if you're going to Child, knowing that you don't have any decent warp songs, I think you do that here first.
Yeah, the part I like the fact that it's like 5 quick checks. The part I wouldn't like is that you're basically committing to triple dipping Ganon's castle at that point. Because you want to go back there once you've got, you know, hook shot, long shot, hovers, etc. Like enough to get a couple more checks. Basically everything else other than light trial. And then you want to go back again for light trials. So you end up in this situation where you're either saying, I'm not going back until I've got strength 3, or I'm going back 2 more times. Marco is running in there, though.
Yep, one of the unfortunate things about an early Ganon's castle deck, especially for Marco here, no bottle, so you can't grab any blue fire, which is a sort of an icebreaker, if you will. Can help you with King Zora, which obviously with Way of the Hero Domain, we already have a bomb bag, but it would be nice to get earlier. And yeah, can just make ice that little better to route.
I guess the flip side is that I am assuming Marco will know. It's just a question of whether he wants to commit the time to doing the spirit trial chests without a hookshot.
Yeah, it's possible.
Not the easiest of strats, but I'm going to assume Marco will have learned that. The flip side is it's also a very slow strat. Even if you know how to do it, it's not quick.
Yeah, any strat which involves pushing an Armos sucks. Every single one of them. But if you want to look at Marco's last match against Gav, would have saved time using that strat as the boomerang was in Spirit Trial that particular scene. It would have saved time. So maybe a little bit of siege bias that might come to mind.
Also, I was going to say I figured Marco would know it from Beta Quest, but I wasn't sure if the setups were different as adult and child, and I know you tend to do that as child in Beta Quest. Oh, Stinger's getting in the way of the boomerang throw. Alright, well, whole lot of nothing in Ganon's castle so far. I guess that's not exactly surprising, knowing what we know about the rest of the seed at this point, but...
Yeah, I mean, we are
not
still,
even a bottle.
We are a good amount of items shy of any form of go mode here. We still need our bows, still need a hook shot. We know where one is, of course, but it's not necessarily the one we're going to find first. Still need dins, still need hovers.
So, I fully expect the bow to turn up en route here somewhere, whether that's, I don't know, whether that's in Jabu, whether that's Storm's Locked, probably bottom of the well, but without ZL, to lead to either Requiem on Burning Kakariko from the 3 medallions there, and that leads you to Zelda's Lullaby, or just Zelda's Lullaby there.
Well, without Lullaby is an interesting choice to make here, because you can be relatively confident that Zelda's Lullaby is in Colossus at this point. It's definitely not a certainty.
It wouldn't be the way of the hero, at least, though.
No, that is true. Actually, no, that's a really good point.
It would be, it could be Burning Kakariko very reasonably, and it could be Colossus, but it would mean there's an item in Colossus.
Unfortunately, nothing for Marco and Ganon's castle there. We'll get the gold sculptor just outside here.
How many does this come out? 15 already. That is very nice.
Yeah, not bad considering no bottle and what was essentially a late boomerang. Back to child, so yeah, a good few trips back and forth to Temple of Time for Marco already.
Yeah, these age changes, like, with the amount of traveling they have to do for them, could be really, really costly.
What is this, child 3 now for Marco?
Yeah, I think so, isn't it? And the other thing is, we know that Marco's kind of big thing here is he's going to go and do Deku Tree, and it doesn't pay out.
Yeah, and there's nothing really, like, there are no better options on the way to Deku Tree, so they're not even going to find Letter first or anything. It will just be Skull Mask into Deku Tree, potentially into Goron City here, to be fair. You can do one check. Whether or not they want to go into Goron City is another discussion, but Skull Mask paying off could be quite big. I don't think Sponge has done Skull Mask yet.
No, he hasn't turned it in at least. I don't know if he picked up the mask, but...
I want to say he has it, but hasn't turned it in.
Actually, is he back to Kak to turn in Keaton? I don't think he's been back to Kak. I think he's got Keaton mask.
Well, maybe not.
Which, to be fair, he'll probably get that on the way through. If he does go to turn that in, he'll do that with Bottom of the Well and the Child Kak skulls all in one clean sweep, which is really nice for him. He'll leave behind a couple of ZL checks in the well. Not as nice, but still pretty efficient. That was Sponge at 10 skulls there.
Nothing on Skull Mask. So, happy 1 hour mark, everyone. I think it's safe to say Sponge has a little bit of a lead here. Nothing game-breaking thus far. There's definitely no signs of this being anywhere close to a GG, but Sponge, I don't know, how many minutes of a lead would you say Sponge has right now?
Let's see. So it's
8 or 9?
probably a bit more than that as well. He's done Deku Tree over Marco, which I think Marco is likely to do, and the first half of Jabu, which is a pretty slow dungeon. I'd probably put it somewhere between 10 and 15.
Yeah, that's fair.
And plus, of course, on top of that, you've got the travel time down to get the letter and over to... I guess there's no real travel time over to Deku Tree at this point, but... it's something, I guess.
How many skulls did you say Sponge was on?
10, I think.
10, okay. So that's the one thing Marco does have.
Yeah.
Marco has a decent skull advantage, and they've still got Jabu to do, which of course is 4 plus a couple around the fountain. So they are going to be looking quite healthy on that.
The flip side to that is that, yeah, the 5 that Sponge is currently behind is basically Child Kak.
True, but Marco also hasn't done Deku Tree.
Right. Yeah, Marco is definitely ahead on skulls. It's just a question of how efficiently the rest come in, I guess. And then, of course, on top of that, there's, you know, still a lot of the sea to go. We have no sign of Hover Boots, Din's Fire, the bow even. There is, actually, I was going to say there's a lot that can go wrong, but it is just those 3, isn't it? And I guess Nocturne, but it wouldn't surprise me if Nocturne is over in the desert at this point.
Yeah.
Way of the Hero Nocturne just for Medallion Shadow, and that's it. We're actually only 3 3.5. I'm not going to count light arrows as a full item. 3.5 items from go mode between the two here.
What is quite rare is the fact that we can potentially beat fire, but we just can't get there. So not every day you have a seed where you can finish Fire Temple, but you literally just cannot access it.
I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, no, that makes actually a lot of sense here. And the fact that, yeah, their only way there at the moment is 40 skulls is incredible. Alright, no bow in Jabu.
So what we're saying is ZL is just in the crate. But we need to grind out 40 skulls before we can get it.
Hard rush 40 right now.
Alright, and that's Jabu done by Sponge. So 3 medallions to 2 thus far. Sponge will be able to get Song of Storms as well, which might potentially
I was just about to say that I expect to see Sponge play Sun Song here, and yeah, sure enough, he is going to go and make a point of getting these 2 skulls here as well.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, unless you forget about them, there's no reason to skip these ones.
On the one hand, like, these skulls feel kind of slow. You have to play the Sun Song to get to them and then go out your way to, like, get up there. And on the other hand, in the bigger picture, when you're looking at, like, 40 out of maybe 50 from Sponge's shoes, like, you don't know an exact number, but you're assuming it's, like, 45, 50 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be hard-pressed to find 5 that are... Or you're going to find it incredibly easy to find 5 that are slower than that.
Confirmation that Sponge still only has a keep mask.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
save quit here, so back to Kokiri Forest. Now, where does Sponge go from here?
Point? He's gonna go into Lost Woods, grab bugs in... Oh, did he not grab the skull earlier? I just sworn he did.
Oh, guess not.
I guess not, yeah, okay. So he can also go into Lost Woods, grab bugs, and pick up the 3 from the soil patches around here.
Never mind.
But, yeah, I was about to say, but you probably just do that with Minuet later if you have to. And right now, you just want to prioritize those items. Just go get storms, just go get checks, like, there's too much high-value stuff going on.
So this is just like, as you say, Kakariko into storms here. This makes perfect sense. Marco almost finished with Deku Tree, so we'll need to see what they do from here. There is every possibility that Marco goes from here to Colossus. Of course, we've already mentioned potentially doing the rest of Hyrule Field as adult. They could just go down to, and what is relatively likely, go down from Kokiri Forest to Lake, grab the owl back to market so that they've got the rest of the explosive checks.
Marco is definitely... I would say a little, desperate, for lack of a better terms, right now.
Yeah, haven't seen
Like-
this goal since the co-op tournament.
Yeah, it's been a while. You don't come here unless you really think you're one options. Which, to be fair, he might be. This might genuinely be one of the options that he would want to do.
Yeah, I mean, with no sign of letter, Marco doesn't know that there is just another dungeon open, so they are probably aware that they don't have enough skulls available to them right now, but are not going to be shy on getting as many as they can.
Right, and, you know, we mentioned earlier the fact that just getting Requiem into Bolero would be enough. Like, if you're looking towards it as that, like, that's terrible. You don't want to be doing that. I'm trying to think if any of the other items would add anything, but I guess not really on their own, so...
No, I can't think of... Obviously, other than a hook shot, I can't think of another individual item that would get us any more skulls at this stage.
You know, it was touched on earlier before Sponge found the letter. If it had just been a normal bottle, just an empty bottle or whatever, that would have been 42. And if you're going to 40 out of 42, well, yeah, back Deku Skull, actually a pretty good one.
That's one circle from Marco on Goma there. There's no need for Broken Stick in Season 4 in Deku Tree, because you absolutely always need the Kokiri Sword.
Sponge getting the wallet here as well. Well, not amazing, but a couple of skulls on the way through as well is going to feel very nice.
Mm-hmm. Gives them a bit of logic information for Fire Temple as well. It means that they know that there is doable and beatable without potentially getting ZL. So again, more evidence towards a potential ZL on Burning Camp.
So that's interesting to me. Sponge just went through the graveyard with the empty bottle. Oh. The Sponge? I'm so confused by this. So I was going to say, Sponge went through the graveyard with the empty bottle and just, like, walked past the rock in the graveyard, which has bugs in it. But now he's equipped the bottle in CAC, so... I
think they've made a slight error here, as Dotso has pointed out. They didn't actually pick up Song of Storms. So they have to come back here anyway. So I think there's just been what I would say a slight routing error here by Sponge.
Yeah.
Maybe should have just got Storms first.
Right, and it's a question of why I guess that happened, because on the one hand, he might not be doing bottom of the well. There is always that option.
Yeah, that is a good point.
He's just got enough to get to 20, so he's getting these two, and then he might just move on. I'm just really confused that he got the bugs here when he was in the graveyard next to the soil patch.
So, worth noting, Marco did not go to South Hyrule. They are in Kakariko Village. And I can't say I know why. Skulls?
20?
Literally just checking skulls.
20?
Yeah.
That's... That's aggressive routing. I'm surprised, honestly. That's not Marco's normal style, gotta be honest.
Yeah, this is potentially really bad for Marco. Again, I think there was a really good justification for doing South Hyrule from Kokiri Forest. So it's weird that the play was to just immediately rush skulls here, when you could essentially do that any time, any age.
For what it's worth, yeah, Marco, I guess, after this, is going to go adult and do exactly what we were talking about earlier. Go through field towards training grounds and pick up the, 8 checks that he's not done on that route? 9 hammer rocks as well. So he'll...
This feels ultra bad, because they'll need to change age again.
Right.
They're going to get lesser as adult, and they're going to need to change again. So the amount of time that Marco has lost alone just to age changes over Sponge is significant. Now, we've got Sponge doing chickens here, so Marco is going to catch up a little bit of time with Sponge doing chickens.
And Marco is going to be doing stuff that Sponge hasn't. And the biggest thing right now for Marco would be finding a hookshot out of logic in GTG. Would be incredible for Marco.
Maybe, but then how long is it going to take for Sponge to do GTG? Not long. Yeah, what checks they have left? So, I think it's relatively likely that Sponge does some GTG checks on the way to Colossus. There's definitely the chance that they don't... Oh, that was that Vanilla Bolero, baby. Let's go.
Vanilla. Okay, cool. Yep.
So yeah, there's a legit chance that Sponge just goes to GTG, and unless Marco specifically does hookshot and finds a hookshot and Sponge doesn't, I'd say that they would find the same thing in a few minutes behind. I'm not entirely sure if Sponge is doing storms here. So not storms, wells. So I can't really say if they're going to head that way.
Yeah, I would be doubtful, right? If you're planning to go to the well, you have to pick storms first. And the fact that he came straight here for the skulls suggests to me that his next play is to go adult.
Yeah.
And probably head over to Colossus. But then the question is like, well, where's your Zelda's Lullaby? Colossus, it can't be the song, or there's an item that's Way of the Hero there. Like, those are your two options.
Yeah, because ZL can still just be in Colossus. You know,
Right.
Even though Colossus is Way of the Hero and Zelda's Lullaby can't be Way of the Hero, it can still be there. So
Yeah, Zelda's Lullaby could be in Colossus, along with, like, the hover boots.
yeah,
And then Colossus is still Way of the Hero, hinted for the hover boots, but also it has Zelda's Lullaby. But otherwise, like, the only place it could be now is Burning Cack. If it's not Colossus, it's Burning Cack now, right?
It's one of the two. Quick shout outs to our trackers today, Siberion and Ginger Sun, for helping us with this match. Doesn't look to be an Ultra Jet, which we were worried about after the seed before this, which was all kinds of Monka-S.
Yeah, this definitely started weirdly. Like, this has been erratic, I would say. On the one hand, it's 40 skulls for a hook shot. And on the other hand, like, with that known, they're like 3 items from Go mode. With a Way of the Hero outstanding, but the Way of the Hero is probably just Nocturne.
In good news, Marco's going to get his Ruto's letter very soon. As you pointed out, the route that Marco's taken there was from Market across to the remote grotto. And I can't see them not going to the open grotto and the Deku Scrub Salesman.
Yeah, I actually think the biggest question on Marco's end here is how far do you follow this? Do you still go over? Do you dip GTG? Do you go over to get the song from the Colossus? Or do you just see that letter and go, okay, I have to go back, child?
Yeah, there is definitely a good argument for either here. I think if you're Marco, you might want to consolidate the fact that you've swapped ages so many times and just stick as adult for now. You know, because it's what? This will be the 6th age change. And child 4 for Marco.
Yeah.
If they choose letter from here, it'll be child 4 at hour 15. So I think you go as you stay as adult here. Also, Sponge.
Sponge doesn't know the setup for this, apparently. Yeah.
Sponge, this is winners bracket round 2. You don't know the setup for the middle hole. Come on.
I think he knows it for like all the other ones, but not top center. It looks
There's
like.
only 3. There's only 3 to learn.
4 if you count the center.
Yeah, but the center is the same one as the left.
Yeah.
It's literally one place or the second place. That is it for this minigame.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know that one, you can do the setup where you get hit by the bomb to retarget, and then there's a couple of different positions. It's basically you stand on like the 4th line, the 5th line, or basically the bottom right corner, like on the line of the arrow on the right. And that hits your middle target, your like 2nd target. One of those 3 will work for each position. There are other options. Those are the main ones I think people tend to do.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure there's some crazy other options you can do, because why not? Bomb chooser are wild. But yeah, Marco has chose to stay adult here after finding that lair, heading into nighttime fortress, which makes sense. There is no sign of a bow, so we can't do horseback archery. Might as well get the skull on the rooftop. Cannot get the rooftop chest, mind you. No hovers, no hook shot, so...
Yeah. Sponge? Grabbing... money? Where is... wait, what? Oh, London Skulls.
Yeah, London Skulls here
Yeah.
for Sponge, which is fine.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense right now.
Feels bad, but ultimately, if there's only 42 available skulls and 3 of them are in London Ranch, then you can't as many as you can get.
I think they know now that it'll be 48, but even then, it's like, oh, That's 48, including all of like. You know, you've got some pretty terrible ones in there as well. We're talking. I mean, Sponge has already done Dodongo's Cavern and not got the skulls there, so. Yeah, there's definitely some. He's gonna have to go back for that, right?
For the Dodongo's Cavern one.
Yeah, well, all of them. He didn't get any. He safe scummed after the stairs. He hasn't got a single skull in Dodongo's Cavern.
Maybe. To be fair, I think that you can probably hope that by the time you cross Colossus, pick up the soul, and so on and so forth, you will be able to get a couple of other skulls, be it out of logic or otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, I wouldn't say there's any urgency to dip to Dodongo's Cavern. Maybe, maybe if they're on like 37 skulls and they're going to Kakariko Village anyway, they can just head up to the trail and get a couple more. Job's done, really.
Funny you say that, by the way. Sponge just there hit 27. Is now save quitting back to do the 3 bean patches in Kokiri Forest and Lost Woods. So that'll be 30. Can then drop over to Goron City, 31 there. Down onto Death Mountain Trail, bean patch, 32. Down to Kakariko, where he didn't get all the skulls earlier and didn't get the graveyard bean patch. Sponge is going to be at about 37 by the time he goes adult.
Yeah, I mean, they might want the hookshot before they cross the wasteland. Or they might not want to cross the wasteland, simple as that. So, I mean, we're only a bow away from being able to do Burn and Cack, so there is a chance that Sponge just wants to potentially get and dip Forest before they head over to Colossus, potentially find a bow in Forest Temple, finish Fire or whatever it might be.
Oh, he did get the graveyard bean. I don't think did he already get the ones in Cack? I didn't think he went up to the... Oh, no, he did climb the tower. Yeah, he's side hopping off it. Never mind. Okay. In which case, by that, he would be at about 33, 34, but then if he goes into Dodongo's Cavern, he can then get 4? 3? Or am I forgetting one?
Well, there's a couple you can't get without the hookshot. So unless he goes in there as Childs.
Yeah, I don't expect Sponge to Armos push.
Yeah, you're correct. You can find 2 hook shots. You find the hook shot and the long shot, but regardless of either way you find them, you will find them, like, if you find the logical long shot, it will still be the hook shot, for example. We do not know where the long shot is, to quote. We think that the 40 skulls is our hook shot, but we can't be sure.
Right, and it's not unreasonable to assume that it's in Forest Temple, Shadow Temple, somewhere that you just need a hookshot for. And if that's the case, you just want to get these skulls. You don't want to take that risk of going, oh, I might find another one, because you just as easily might not.
So, Marco finds nothing in GTG, which is fine. Again, I'd be really surprised if Sponge comes out here and doesn't do those checks.
The thing I was a little surprised to see there is Marco didn't do hookless, right?
Yeah,
now, I guess part of that is no bow, no strength, to you're doing all of that for like 3 checks. It doesn't feel great. But that is 3 checks, like... That's probably about as much as Marco has everywhere else at this point, given that his only option right now is... I guess he knows he can go and do Jabu and get Storms.
Yeah. I guess like... the thing is that Marco knows that, there are only 3 items from Go Mode, essentially, at this point. Those 3 checks are, they're not fast. Getting through that first room is very slow, so I think this is okay. I think ignoring those is a risk. There's an argument for always being as conservative as possible, and I think that could be made here. But I don't think there's anything particular wrong with being like, you know what, I might have to come back here with a hookshot or a bow anyway for the rooftop, for horseback archery, etc. So no real need to push that. And besides, anything behind that it's not out of logic, but it's...
Yeah, I think, like, for what it's worth, I think both doing Hookless here and skipping it are both very reasonable plays. I think they're actually, like, completely defensible either way. The one kind of thing that I think would tip you away from doing it is the logic, like you say. It's that thing of, you know, it might just be that you get the hook shot and then you have to find strength 2 and bow for most of those checks anyway, and by that point, you know, bow could be the last item they find. Like, strength 2 could be locked behind all of their other items and they just never get it.
So Sponge is continuing the Great Skull Hunt of 2021. Marco is going to tell us what is hopefully we're the hero in Colossus. There is a chance we won't find out if there's no Zelda's Lullaby here and it's on the ferry.
We've got to assume this is Nocturne, I think, is the most likely scenario.
It could be Requiem.
That was... Oh, no, never mind. Yeah.
Hovers! It's Hovers on the archway!
Oh, no!
Oh, my God!
Alright, so it could be Requiem, it could be Zelda's Lullaby, it could be Requiem, it's not.
That's Nocturne! That's even... Oh, dear! Alright.
So was it Hovers? People are saying they saw Seed Bag.
100% Hovers.
I didn't see it. I was looking at the hint sheet at the time, so...
I'm absolutely certain that's Hover Boots.
Damn, it's a shame. I don't think you can have 2 predictions at once. Shame. And get who's right, was it?
I mean, I am notably bad at identifying things, but I'm pretty sure that that was Hover Boots. Yeah, thanks, Cola. My reputation precedes me. Okay,
it's fine, because if there's a freestanding item that you can get, like, mistaken identity on, Sponge will do it. Like...
I don't know, Marco has already done that in qualifiers. Ironically, with Hovers. Thinking there was Bomb Shoes. And that was on the Volcano Land Seed.
Right, yeah, okay. There is an ongoing joke that Sponge has VC eyes, because the Virtual Console is notoriously much, much darker than emulator, and can make it a little harder to see things. And if something can go wrong with that, Sponge will get it wrong every time.
Okay, people are conflicted. A lot of people are now saying it was a seed bag. I might be wrong. I only saw it for as long as everyone else, so I haven't gone back to see it yet.
Got the video assistant replay telling us
Good
it's
poll. If Chint's wrong, that's a great poll. I'd hedge your bets pretty sensibly here.
VAR's telling us it's a seed bag, so...
We've gone to Stockley Park. Can confirm. Alright, it's a seed... You know what? That's fine. It's okay. There was definitely more than just me saying that it was Hover Boots, so everyone else that said it is also incorrect. You're welcome.
Alright, so yeah, making that, you made that call earlier of Marco going to, what was it, Child 5? We're at 4?
This is Child 4.
4, okay. Whereas Sponge is going to Adult 2, for comparison's sake.
Yeah, finally picking up their Storms. We'll see if they use it, or whether they head out to Colossus now. Ultimately, heading out to Colossus didn't do much for Marco. They got Nocturne, but that's it. If Requiem is just in the graveyard, then that whole trip was kind of worthless.
Right, yeah, that's true, actually. This is an interesting one, though. Playing Minuet here on Sponge's side. What hasn't he got yet around here? I guess this is Dodongo's Cavern, partially.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the best, in air quote, way back to on City. I mean, they've got the Kokiri Storm Swallow here, so which they're not going to check. Okay.
Okay. Surprising, but sure.
Yes.
Also, yeah, since chat were bringing out there, I'm sure every single person who has done a race where you got Zelda's Lullaby, like, over an hour in, has tried to play ZL at some point and not remembered that they don't have it, you know?
Alright, now, Marco's buying beans.
That's the Lost Woods skull? Oh well, chomp chomp.
Yeah, Sponge did miss that Storm Sparrow there. I'm not sure you plant beans for Lake at this point. You know you need to get the hook shot anyway. Like, the hook shot's on 40 skulls. Marco is on a high amount for skulls. They know where the hook shot is, so I'm not sure you buy beans for the lake.
Right, if anything it would be... Unless Marco saw hovers, who wants to plant one in the Colossus.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, if I can get hovers wrong, then everyone else can, so it's... there is a chance.
And the other option, of course, is that, yeah, it's for the Lost Woods skull. Which you don't want to have to do, but Marco's already done the skull at the back of the Deku Tree, like it wouldn't be the most surprising thing.
Is 40 in logic right now? Yes, we're fairly certain it is.
I think we're at 48.
Yeah, Sponge has absolutely gone balls to the wall for skulls here. It's now on 34.
Yeah, this has been incredibly aggressive skull routing, but it makes sense to me. Like, you get that, you can go and beat fire, presumably. There's always a chance, you know, Pierre has your boss key, but yeah, the majority of the time you can beat fire. And you can also then go into forest, you can, like, go over and actually do GTG that little bit faster. Like, you get so much access to so many little things, but things that you need to do at some point in a lot of these cases, that just getting those skulls seems so efficient right now.
$25 for Marco, so yeah. Literally 10 behind. It's crazy to think that Marco was 10 ahead and is now 10 behind.
The time it took Marco to go over to the desert, Sponge got, yeah, 15 to 20 skulls in that time. Yeah, just incredible routing, honestly. Like, and again, this is, honestly, like, it's one of the things you'll hear a lot, I think, from a lot of the people who have been in these top 32 brackets and a lot of, like, the kind of top runners in the community, is that they love routing in skull seeds and they really love the challenge of a skull seed. And I really think it's one of those things that really separates the kind of the top runners from the, like, the challengers.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen a race which was very skull execution based, which was Dylan versus Daredevil, where it was essentially a jet seed, but all came down to the fact that Light Arrows won 30 skulls. And neither of them had any real chance to collect skulls throughout that seed because of how jet it was, and it just, despite Dylan having a few minutes lead, you know, the lead was compounded with skull execution, for sure.
Right. So, Sponge, yep, going into DC here, and I think he's going to get 4 as adult here.
I don't think he can get 4 without a hook shot.
Yeah, I guess if he almost pushes, he can get 4. There has to be a better one than that. Has he got the one on the wall on the way down yet? I think he has. I think he's going to almost push.
I mean,
I actually think he's going to almost push.
If this gets him to 40, why not?
He's at 36, yeah.
If this gets him to 40, then it might just make sense to do that.
So not a strat you see very often. For those who don't know here, there are, obviously, in vanilla, you're meant to do this as child. Never mind, he's not doing it.
Never mind, we're not seeing the arm must push.
Okay, to summarize, there are Armos at the other end of the room that you're meant to push onto a switch. You can instead push them up to the platform that the skull is on, backflip onto the Armos statue, and then jump straight up to the skull. And never need a scarecrow to do it.
So is going to get the one on the vines here if they skip that one. Can get the one at the back of Dodongo's cavern. Can't get the one sort of in the middle of the central pillar.
Yeah, he can't get the one at the top of this staircase, but he can get the vines up here and the one in the back. If he goes to get the one in the back, I can only see him going, wait, do I need to Armos push? Unless he's got one in mind that he can go and get immediately, but...
Yeah, I
can't get the one in...
I can't think of an immediate one right now.
Right, can't get the one in Kakariko. That one's hookshot locked. He can't get the one in the grotto outside Kak. That'll be, you know, hookshot locked as adult. He's jumping back down, yeah. Off to get the one at the back. I'm actually really interesting. He got the trail one. I remember him getting knocked down by the Tectite. He got that as child. I'm really curious to see where he goes here. This is... We mentioned the skull routing being like a really integral part of this, and I'm wondering if he's miscounted, or if we've misread it somewhere, or if there's one that he's got in mind that he's just going to go straight to, or... Yeah, like, there's so many options.
Meanwhile, Marco's going to be at about 31 skulls after Jabu, with the skulls in Jabu, the 2 in Fountain.
Right, yeah.
They're going to be looking pretty good. Still needs 9, but I don't think they've got any soil patch skulls yet.
No, he won't have. He's only just emptied the letter, right?
Yeah, so they can get quite a lot quite quickly. And this is a minuet play.
Minuet? I was going to say, there's the one on the, like, in Kakariko, which you can get without hookshot with a very specific strat with hovers. So they can't even do that. Like, I'm really confused by this. I don't think he planted the bean. He can't get the one in Kakiri Forest.
You can get the one in Kakiri Forest. I think it's a specific jump. You can, like, walk up the ramp of that house, and you can jump to it.
I thought you needed hovers to do that for this.
Maybe it is hovers. I remember seeing someone get it without a hookshot.
I think there's a jump to do it that's a seam walk that you're not allowed to do, and then there's a hover to do it.
Right, okay.
That's allowed.
Okay, then let's just assume that the one I watched was with hovers. Oh my god! He almost skipped that!
Oh my god!
Skip that. That is insanely lucky for Sponge to have gone back and got that. My god.
That is such a huge payout.
Oh
my god.
That is immense. They could have had that about 10 minutes ago.
He has to figure out where he's going to get that other skull now, but... Yeah, that's Forest, that's Fire, that's Zelda's Lullaby, which you then hope leads to Requiem. You take that to get Nocturne. It's Dins and Hovers. It's Dins and Hovers that are missing.
Yeah, it's our Shadow start kit. But notably, we are now we're essentially out of way of the heroes. So, grabbing a Poe. Grabbing a Poe here, all the way over. I still don't know what...
You didn't get the one by Ganon's castle, right?
I know one person. I know Marco did. So yeah, maybe Sponge.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be.
I was trying to figure out why he would call Epona to ride to castle, but Poe makes sense for that. And then, yeah, you go in, you get that skull, maybe dip Ganon's, and then
straight to Forest.
Head out. I don't think you even dip Ganon's. You just head out, you get your hookshot, and you just rush progression at that point.
Absolutely no need to do that. Oh, they missed the Poe. Time wasted there. Yeah, you don't dip Ganon's when you know you can get a hookshot and dip Ganon's with a hookshot to do Spirit Trials.
Right.
Even though you can do it without it, it's slow as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, like, inefficient as well. Like, the whole... It's kind of like an ongoing joke of, you know, Rush Donjon, but there's a reason that became the thing, right? It's like, you could find... your Dins and Hovers, one in Forest, one in Fire, and that's it, you're in go mode.
Yeah.
Like, you just move on.
Yeah, with a Medallion forest to go, it's more than reasonable that you'll find one of those. So, oh
Never
my
mind.
god!
Never mind. You can just come here and find Dins
Yeah,
on the
or you-
direct route, and
Or you could just walk into your items, I guess.
right. Just nearly skips the bow, does one check after getting the bow, and it's Dins.
Wow. Wow.
Classic Sponge. Classic Sponge.
I want, like, don't get me wrong, this isn't lucky from Sponge, because they should have got the Kakiri Storm
Right.
earlier. Like, they were there, their routing made sense, they shouldn't have forgot it in the first place. The fact that they went back and got it, and then immediately ran into Dins, is lucky, but again, because they should have already had the bow, it's like, well, Sponge in a nutshell.
It kind of is. Like, so there are a lot of ongoing jokes with Sponge, and one of the big ones was in his first match in Season 3, there was a hint that Skullmask had the bomb bag, and Sponge instead goes completely out of his way, goes over to Gerudo Training Ground, like, no items, and just finds a bomb bag in the first chest. Like, just has a bow and, like, nothing else, shoots the ice switch, opens a bomb bag. This is Sponge, like, through and through. But you know what? We said going into this that the biggest differences were Marco has a very slight execution edge, Sponge has a very slight logic edge, and Marco plays very conservatively while Sponge plays very much on his instincts, kind of aggressively at times. This is it paying out. This is that working out in his favor.
I guess the difficult thing is for Marco is, when does Marco get that bow? Because there is every reason for Marco to go into the well here, get some skulls from the well. There's no ZL, so you could choose that. Sponge could have also done that. Sponge should have gone into the well at any point and chose not to, so Marco might follow the same remit and not bother.
Right, I think one of the biggest kind of benefits for Marco here is that he is very close to being done with skulls. And then if he decides he wants to dip into forest, he's going to go straight back there with storms. Sure, he'll dip into forest first and then presumably dip out on the way to get more skulls. But it means that he'll get that bow pretty reasonably.
Yep.
The question then becomes, when do you get the big Poe as well? Like, it's looking bad for Marco. It's one step into the next one that he has to catch up on here, ignoring the fact that he still has to catch up on skulls.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, this is probably the first race I've ever watched in a one-on-one with Marco that I've been like, this doesn't look good for Marco. Like,
Yeah.
even against Bonnaroo, when Bonnaroo had leads, I was just like, nah, this is fine. But no, this is a considerable lead for Sponge at this point.
Right,
I'm not gonna say
Marco's
it's an unassailable lead, because hovers could be anywhere.
Marco's history in competitive racing does tend to be either winning. Wait, what was that?
He just picked up a skull despite getting 40
Oh,
skulls.
just instinctively grabbed a skull. Yeah, absolutely every time though, right? Like, but yeah, for what it's worth, yeah, Marco's history in racing tends to be either, fairly comfortable execution wins. Meaning no disrespect to the people Marco has played against, but, we are talking about somebody who's been playing since pretty much day one of Rando, who's, been playing and speedrunning OOT since basically the dawn of time. Marco is going to have an execution lead over most people. Generally speaking, his races have been a comfortable win on an execution lead or an incredibly close race that's gone one way or another. This, I think, is genuinely the first time, and part of it, admittedly, is Marco has struggled a bit more with Season 4. But this might be the first time in a tournament race that I've really seen Marco be definitively behind.
Alright, who wants to get a bet for long shot and forest?
That's...
Because, let's face it, normally if a hook shot locks a long shot, it's like 3 checks deep.
This race with vanilla spawns, I don't think much changes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because then Sponge has no reason to wrap big pup there.
I mean, I also
That's
think
like a
that
big change, but yeah.
I think getting a letter becomes significantly harder for everyone because you do open grotto and then that's it.
Well, if it was just vanilla spawns, but with everything else, like closed echo, freeze EL, all of that, then I think you get there reasonably. But, it's interesting, because, you know, my instinct with Season 4, and I guess this ties into, like, a bigger picture thing, my instinct with Season 4 was the hints are so much weaker, and you're just going to end up playing to basically execution. You're basically just rushing density. But the flip side to it is that I don't know what change it was specifically that did it, but statistically, like, locations are very much more balanced, and so gambles are a lot more likely to pay out now than they used to.
Oh, there's some light arrows. That's
Just
big,
hovers
that's big
away.
for Sponge.
Well, hovers and twos. We're missing more songs than items. Okay, Sponge is missing more songs than items. I guess we're missing one of each, but...
So Marco is going to the well here, by the way. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, that's...
Hovers could be in the well. To be fair,
but-
Hovers could be in the well. There's
Right.
This is a fine. There's nothing wrong with this play. Like,
No, I don't disagree with the play at all. It's, again, it's more aggressive than I would expect from Marco. He's generally a very consistent player, and I guess part of that is coming back to, you know, we mentioned that Marco definitely had a pretty rough time of Season 4 quals, but particularly early on. Like, his early quals, he struggled a lot more than the later ones, and I kind of wonder if this is the sort of, like, aggressive play that he wasn't making originally, because he wasn't used to that, and then adjusted his play as it went on.
Would you say well is aggressive? Technically, it's your most dense area.
I think going to bottom of the well when you know you can get your hook shot, and you don't have ZL, is aggressive. And I think that's the hook shot is the big thing for me here, is Marco knows he can go and get 40, get a hook shot, and at that point has a few other big options, including progression. Bottom of the well typically is an amazing play, but typically you get Zelda's Lullaby very early. And I think going in there without it now is a gamble.
I think Marco would skip this if he had the bow.
Probably, yeah. Because then you would have Forest and Fire
you
guaranteed.
know you can go to Forest. But ultimately, without the bow as well, even if you get the hook shot, this still remains your most dense location. And, you know, you can't just automatically do progression.
I think, yeah, the flip side is that, like... So, you can just do some progression. You can at least go to Fire. And I think the best way to Fire is to play Minuet, at which point you dip Forest first. Like, even if you don't have a bow, you dip Forest, then play Minuet, go back to Fire, and go and presumably beat Fire. You might get bow locked, but it's incredibly unlikely. The boss key is the first thing placed in a dungeon. There are 13 chests in Fire, I think it is, and 7 of them are before the bow switch. So firstly, you've got a 7 in 13 right there of just getting the boss key.
Oh!
There are the hovers! So we know everything except Zelda's Lullaby?
Our last item from No Mode is ZL. Who'd have thought? Okay, well, to be fair, that could be fairly big for Marco, because when does Sponge go to the well?
Yeah, So I think the thing that will save Sponge here is if he gets... So he's going to beat Forest, he's going to beat Fire, he's going to pick up the song, and it has to be Zelda's Lullaby at this point. He is going to get Zelda's Lullaby on the Burning Kakariko check from his 3 medallions. 100%. At which point...
Yeah. That if Sponge runs into something like a strength...
Right. At this point, Sponge's best play there would be bottom of the well, comfortably. The issue is if he picks up something like Strength 2. If he picks up Strength 2, then yes, he might go over to Gorilla Training Grounds first or something along those lines, but Bottom of the Well is a very strong play for Sponge here. And then the flip side to it is, even if Sponge does get led astray a little bit, say he goes to Ice Cavern first and then goes to Bottom of the Well, Marco has to find the bow and then Dins.
I think the bow is likely. It's Dins that's the problem for Marco, you know. I think if you get the hook shot, you'll probably dip Forest anyway, you know, just because it's open, it's progression, and it's fine to do. Once you've dipped Forest, you'll probably head to Kokiri Storms, or maybe even before you dip Forest, you'll get the bow and head straight in there. But Dins is the real problematic check here.
Right, even if Marco just dips Forest and then goes to leave, his next play is probably Fire. And at that point, you absolutely just... Like, your only warp song to get there is Minuet. You walk out into Kokiri Forest, play Storms, then walk back in and go through Goron City would be your route. So as soon as you get that bow, it's suddenly like, okay, change of plan, we're doing Forest first.
Yeah. Found pointing out, and correctly pointing out, that Opponents was in a way of the hero location. The only thing else, you know, the only other thing we found there was the hammer, which of course we know we need, but...
Yeah.
It is, you know, when there's one of two things that can be Way of the Hero, sure, hammer makes perfect sense, but it is something to keep in mind. So
I've spoken to a couple of people about this, and I'm really curious to see if somebody would run the numbers and figure out if something is hinted Way of the Hero, how likely is it that there are 2 or more items in that location? Because obviously there's the kind of whole thing of full clear your Way of the Heroes, but on the flip side to that, like, that's one of those things that I feel like gets said a lot more than it's actually true.
not the right size Poe, but maybe a reminder.
Little small. But yeah, like it's interesting to think about, because if something's going to be hinted Way of the Hero, he looks at the list of Way of the Hero locations and goes, okay, we'll hint this one, this one, this one, and this one. These are your hints.
Sorry, I just can't believe we found
that. In Forest, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Also, Marco is going to get his bow right now.
Right. Yeah, this will send him to Forest and then Fire immediately. So the question then becomes, does Sponge find anything else through his progression? And if he does he still go to Bottom of the Well anyway? I will say it's one of the things AZZ used to talk about quite a lot in terms of routing, is in a race he would play kind of efficiently, but like efficiently in a way that meant he covered his tracks. So if he had 2 options and it was like, you know, the example, there's a specific race that comes to mind, and he was like, I'm going over to Spirit Temple using Epona. I can play Serenade or I can play Prelude. If I play one, I get the checks on that route. If I play the other, I get the checks on that route. So he did both. Sponge might... And Sponge follows that kind of style of routing pretty well. Like, Sponge is very good at that kind of routing decision. That would push him to Bottom of the Well. It might, on the flip side, push him to at least dip Gorilla Training Grounds, because he might go, Marco went here earlier to check the...
Yeah, that's the thing, because you know that Colossus is still Way of the Hero. So as far as Sponge is concerned, sure, it might be Nocturne. Could also be, it could also be the Hovers. So
also, just quickly, since I didn't mention it, by the way, 84% of people were in fact right earlier. It percent not the Hovers at this point.
Yeah, plenty of people were right. I was wrong. I accept it. If anyone believes the fact that I say something is on a freestanding item, that's their own fault. Marco?
Did he just... he's going to play Sun's Song back up?
I hope so.
Where's he going?
I assume that it's getting this Skull Sun Song back up to Lost Woods. But I would have been a lot more confident with checking that Sun Song, the Storm's Guard.
Yeah, checking it on the way out would have been a lot more,
Marco.
comforting.
So Please don't leave.
Leaving. He's
Oh
leaving.
my God.
He's out. Oh my god. He's remembered.
Oh,
No.
what's he doing?
What is happening?
Oh my God. How did they both forget the Storm's Grotto?
What is happening?
Oh my God. I understand forgetting the odd check here or there. Both of them forgetting the same check? Nonsense.
Sponge plays very aggressively and like has a reputation for getting.
Yeah.
I'm like, Sponge skipping a check, I'm like, that's just Sponge, he'll do that. Marco, I'm stunned. I don't think I've ever seen this from Marco.
I think Marco remembered at the end there and was like, you know what, it's fine, I'm getting this as a doll.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense.
They looked like they were going to potentially head back up to Lost Woods there.
You still just play Sun Song, right?
Sure, but it is a bit of a time waste. So I think what they might do here, get their hook shot, again, dip Forest or at least check Storms before dipping Forest and then get the bow there. So I think they kind of remembered on the way out. They were that focused on Skulls and Skulls only, it didn't even cross their mind that the Storm's Grotto was there. So I'd like to think they remembered right at the end, didn't want to waste time playing Sun Song because they need to play it again to get into market, and was just like, you know what, fine, I'll just get this as a doll.
And again, the other thing is that from Marco's shoes, like, even if he doesn't go into Forest right now, there is a reasonable chance he can go and beat Fire. And as far as he knows at this point, actually, again, generally speaking, there's like a higher than 50% chance the boss key is before the bow lock in Fire. And that's excluding the chance of, like, you know, other keys on the way. So there's a pretty good chance that Marco goes to Fire and can do it in logic with hover boots.
Also, you can get this, can you get this skull on the Sacred Forest Meadow with hovers?
I don't think so.
I want to say no, but either way, Marco is probably going to get his bow hit. No, you can't. Okay. It still baffles my mind that they both managed to skip that one check, but ultimately I think Marco has at least remembered, and we'll check it
Gonna
here.
get it now, yeah.
Please turn right. There we go. Okay. And as we say that, Sponge has finished Forest. Nothing other than the light arrows was in Forest Temple, so no potential bait for Sponge to follow in terms of items, no extra strength, no long shot, and anything like that, so...
Nothing yet, but he will have Fire to go as well.
Yeah, there is still potential to find something with Fire, which Sponge is going to do right now.
Oh yeah, Marco has hovers. He can get this one at night. That's why. I was a little confused why he turned it to night, but yeah, hovers let you get that. Yeah, for what it's worth, this race is still definitely up in the air. Marco is behind right now, mostly on the back of Din's Fire versus Hover Boots, but also the fact that Marco, you know, has to go and pick up his hook shot and then beat Forest. But there is still definitely that chance that, yeah, Sponge could get baited away by Strength, go off to Griddo Training Grounds, or there's the chance that Sponge kind of, you know, we said that he plays to instincts, and one of the things with that is it doesn't always work. He might end up going to something like, you know, he gets Zelda's Lullaby and goes to Ice Cavern.
Oh god, I will. If Sponge goes to Ice Cavern, I'll lose my fucking shit.
It's gonna be open. It's gonna be an option.
Such a bad play.
It is. But then if he's seeing Colossus Way of the Hero and going, okay, I want Requiem, then he might play to songs.
Yeah, I mean there is that. You can potentially do that for sure. But
It's the kind of play I wouldn't expect someone to do, but it's definitely the kind
Another
of play that
glowing
I...
fire just sat there. Oh my god.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, yeah, ice is definitely the kind of play that I wouldn't expect people to do, but it's the kind of play I could see somebody doing as, like, somewhere between a gamble and just a, I don't know, I feel like this is my best option kind of thing. Like a not quite gamble, but, you know, sponge instinct kind of play.
By the way, this essentially tells you exactly how far in the lead Sponge is. They are both in Fire Temple, but Sponge has an entire Forest Temple on top right now. So, while Sponge still needs to go into the well to pick up their hovers, Marco still needs to find Dins. This is how much raw progression they are right now. It's literally an entire Forest Temple. There is the exception, of course, if Requiem isn't in the graveyard, that Sponge might need to go all the way out to the desert as well, on top of that, which is more than a few minutes.
Yep,
So,
true. Which, by the way, is entirely in logic now. We're, the hovers actually meaning Epona's hovers, no long shot lock to go over there.
Yeah,
So-
we're completely in logic. Nothing is out of logic right now.
We're in logic, we know where everything is, and it's just a question of, who finds what.
Where hovers are in the back left chest in the bottom of the well.
Very nice timing on that one.
Yeah. Although interestingly, Sponge was behind Marco and is now in front. Although I think that was because Marco had picked up that last skull in the lifelike room.
Ah, that makes sense, makes sense.
Wow, this is some incredible fight.
Side by side. Ah, Sponge was a little slower climbing up.
Oh, Jesus! That door open, it was literally frame by frame. So if you want to judge the execution of our top runners, this is how you do it. Oh my god, look at that!
They are dropping no extra time here, like... Oh, did Sponge drop a little there, I think? This is incredible, though. This is so, like... So, yeah, it... Obviously, again, pointing out that we have, on one side, a Forest Temple and Big Pose done, and on the other, Nocturne in the Colossus and Hover Boots in the Well done. But, yeah, this is, you know, side-by-side movement, side-by-side, like, execution right now, and it goes to show just how close a race it is.
Yeah. Marco has hovers, which feels good. You can definitely have some nice Fire Temple with hovers. Likewise, Sponge has hookshot, so this next room, Sponge will be able to just hookshot, grab it, jump up fairly fast.
Yeah.
If it's on Pierre, despite Sponge having a hookshot, does not have the Scarecrow song, so neither of them will be able to get the boss key. on
Getting
this
over to
first
Lake.
Pierre.
Yeah, getting over to Lake as adult, not without Serenade, not the best thing to do.
No.
Especially not when you have 2 dungeons open once you get a hookshot, so... Yeah, not surprising that Sponge doesn't have it, but Sponge doesn't have it.
Also, side note, fuck the Ring of Fire that's there on Master Quest Fire.
Ah, beautiful.
Oh my
I
god.
love it. It's so
I
good.
did not know that was there. I did Master Quest Fire for an RSLC the other day, and gee, I was so mad.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, right, so... Oh, Marco didn't get the ground jump properly, though. So there's a strat there where you can store the ground jump with the hovers. Hover across and immediately jump up. But if your feet clip the platform, you'll lose your ground jump. And I guess that's what happened to Marco there, so... Yeah, Sponge gained quite a lot of time with that. Since Master Quest has come up, I do have to say, Master Quest Ganon's Castle is better than Vanilla Ganon's Castle, except the two worst trials between every trial, Vanilla or Master Quest, are MQ Fire and Vanilla Fire. They are the two worst trials. So if you take out Fire Trial, MQ is just strictly better than for Ganon's than Vanilla. But but MQ Fire Trial is like the worst thing.
Alright, so there's still no sign of this boss key. We are only a few more checks away from Pierre, so we could be key locked, we could be completely boss key locked from Pierre, who knows? Why not soon?
They were bow locked from Fire. Sponge not jumping across first. Marco has the hovers, he doesn't need to. For people doing this room, if you jump forwards onto the platform and then shoot the eye, it just lines you up with the door and you just walk forwards.
Okay, there is our boss key, so no need to extend this seed by just a cheeky hike over to Adult Lake, which could potentially benefit Sponge, who doesn't now need to do any Adult Lake checks. Of course, without hovers, they might have been inspired to do those. Likewise for Marco, but I dare say if Marco's heading over to activate the Scarecrow, they would have got Dins.
There is an important note there in chat as well. That boss key and the fact that they needed a small key to continue onwards means that Fire Temple is hover locked. So Zelda's Lullaby is hover locked. The thing is, on the one hand, that's good for Sponge. He's not going to go and do a bunch of Zelda's Lullaby locked stuff. On the other hand, the reason Sponge hasn't been doing Bottom of the Well is presumably no Zelda's Lullaby.
Yeah.
So is that going to deter him further?
Yeah, I mean, it does. Thing is, it pushes them away from the well just in terms of raw number of checks, but he also knows that you can't do Shadow without the long shot or the hobbits, because you'll find out that Nocturne is in Colossus. So that also limits Spirit if we don't know where Ice Cavern is. Sorry, not Ice Cavern. If we don't know where Requiem is.
Right.
So yeah, this does lock off a lot of areas for Spine, which is pretty big.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely useful
could
information.
hedge-
It's a question of how useful. Yeah.
He could hedge all of his bets in GTG, because there is no ZL requirements for GTG at all.
So yeah, just to clarify that as well, the hover boots logically can be required for Fire Temple. Because the boss key was halfway up Fire Temple, and you needed a key to continue, that key has to come from Volvagia. So Volvagia will drop a key that means you can get further into Fire, because you have to be able to get to every location. So logically, the way you get to Volvagia, the jump that they did to get to the boss door is not in logic. You have to hover across that gap, which means this medallion is locked by hover boots, which means the Zelda's Lullaby that is on the Burning Kakariko check is locked by the hover boots.
And there is that small key. No chance that either of these runners head back into Fire, of course.
Incredibly
I
unlikely.
figured out that Marco's like, yeah, this is a great play. And obviously, as you say, Sponge knows that hovers cannot be at the rest of Fire Temple, so that is the end of our Fire Temple excursion.
So yeah, Marco is gonna go and pick up that hookshot and rush to Forest Temple, and then the question becomes, where does Sponge go?
Yeah, so it's all down to Sponge at this point. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Marco's
first step has to be the
hits,
song.
but it's essentially what I would say it's Sponge's race to lose at this stage.
Yeah. So I think I know the answer to this. I think my answer is yes, but for you and for everyone in chat, I guess, do you check the Composer Grave at this point in case it's Requiem?
After you get ZL, 100%.
I think at this point you're pretty confident by now that the way of the hero in Colossus has to be knocked out. Like, you know that. Almost for certain at this stage. But the amount of value that you get out of Requiem, I think, is worth the time it takes to do it. the flip side to that being, it is an entirely unnecessary thing that you're going to do. You know it's never going to be a song that you need. I think you still do it, but I don't think you would go to Ice Cavern for Requiem or anything. I don't think you get any other song checks, just this one.
That's interesting. Sponge didn't check. I don't think they checked Adult Shooting Gallery, right? Because Marco did just check them. And I don't think Sponge has been back here with a bow.
Huh?
Sponge did it? Okay.
He has been here with the bow because he picked up his hookshot after game.
Okay, so Marco with a 15-minute stint through Forest Temple. And once Marco's done Forest, at that point, it's just, we'll have to assess where Sponge is. I can't imagine that Sponge is going to leave the well for too much longer.
Right.
I really can't.
Didn't find Strength 2 anywhere, so the worst I could see for Sponge here is crossing over to the other side of the desert, maybe dipping into the training grounds on the way over.
Serenade.
That ain't what you wanted.
All right, that's good for Marco. That means that trip out to the desert is absolutely required.
And he's playing it. Does that mean that's a trip over to the desert, I guess, though? I don't know if he'll do the checks here.
He might. These are perfectly
He probably will, yeah.
They're in logic, so that's all time.
And then he'll probably just go over to the desert, pick up his Nocturne, and then see where to go from there. Right, I'm going to quickly step away for a second.
Yep.
Okay, so back in a minute.
Alright, activating the Scarecrow for Sponge. So, probably indicates that they're going to check the Fortress chest as well. Could do horseback archery, and again, Sponge can lose a ton of time just in the Gerudo Fortress area here. If they choose to do any of GTG, if they choose to do horseback archery and stuff, then this is a lot of time for Marco to catch up on. Forest is a big temple, so this is we're not going to be seeing Marco leave Forest anytime soon. This is another 10 to 12 minutes. But yeah, Sponge could definitely lose as much time as it takes for Marco to catch up by dipping into GTG. Now, we know that nothing was on the right side of GTG, so they're not going to magically find Strength 2 and get baited into more Strength checks. They shouldn't. Theoretically, they shouldn't do any Spirit checks at all, even if they do find Strength 2. Because we know that hovers are locked by ZL. So getting across to the desert, which requires hovers, means that you shouldn't have to do anything there. But yeah, it's the dins for Marco that is the real big question here. At least
no Strength 2 for Sponge here, then.
No, double magic, though. Double magic on adult fishing.
Nice to have. Probably not necessary for anything, but nice to have. So yeah, best case scenario for Marco is that Sponge finds Strength on the lab. Best case scenario for Sponge is that he finds what? Feroz Wind?
Do we need Feroz Wind for anything at this stage?
It'd be nice to have for Shadow.
Yeah, I mean, you can save one room, I guess.
There's not a lot else that Sponge needs. Oh, that is Strength!
Oh,
that is Strength!
Oh no, that's really bad for Sponge.
Ooh.
Yeah. They should still skip Spirit. If they understand the logic, they shouldn't dip any of Spirit.
Right.
But it will inspire them, I think, to dip more of GTG.
Yes. Not to mention the fact that Spirit could just be locked by Longshot, and Hovers could still be in Spirit, so...
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the problem.
Wait.
If Longshot is in GTG, then Sponge is fucked. Just
Right,
straight up,
yes,
Sponge is
100%. That
long
is
shots in GTG.
worst case scenario for Sponge by far. Because you've got to assume at this point as well, like, what is Marco's next play, right? He's gonna go beat Forest, go pick up Zelda's Lullaby. He's then just looking for Dins. Has most of the world open, but the best places for him to go are gonna be, you know, follow a similar route to Sponge. Firstly, he'll pick up Serenade, go over, do the lake checks potentially, and then go to GTG and Spirit. But Marco doing that will catch a Poe, potentially. Like, it gives that Marco that out to go through field and catch the Poe there.
I struggle to see any scenario where Marco skips a Poe for much longer. Because you go and get ZL here, you're in Kakariko, you have no Warp Song to play that will get you anywhere else convenient. Unless you wanted to suddenly dip fire or choose ice, which I can't see happening, you are going to leave Kakariko via the front. If you leave via the front, you're going to get a big Poe.
The exception would be if he got the Serenade and then went to do Lake. If he picks up Serenade on the grave and then goes to do Lake checks the same way Sponge did. The other thing for Sponge that's worth noting here is he might still not do GTG. He probably will. But this could just be going to the desert. This could just be checking the song still.
Yeah. Honestly, he would need balls the size of fucking planets to skip GTG at this point, in my opinion.
Again, like, the other thing is, this is where FW would be amazing. If you had Feroz Wind here, you leave that in GTG and you just go. You just go and do anything else.
I don't think you do. I still think you do GTG, even with Feroz Wind here. I think this is the best area. There's like, what could convince yourself that Well is the better play over GTG at this stage?
Density. GTG has more items, but bottom of the wells are far faster.
Yeah, sure, but you need to go to the well. You don't have prelude.
No, it's and again, I think from here, I think you just do probably GTG. The flip side is if Sponge had Feroz, then you could consider leaving it behind. But more than getting to bottom of the well, I think the flip side is getting back here is awful. I think it's less a question of going to the well and more a question of, like, leaving behind the Gerudo area at this point.
His horseback archery, so again, just compounding some time loss here. They're still ahead. Marco has about 5 minutes of Forest Temple left, maybe a little bit more. But GCG isn't a 5-minute dungeon, so
no.
As soon as Marco leaves Forest, you could argue they are in the lead. I mean, I don't think either of them are, but I think the likelihood of Marco finding Dings is quite high.
Yeah, it all depends on where Marco goes after getting Zelda's Lullaby, I think. And there are quite a few options for that, to be fair. But most of them end up, you know, going through Hyrule Field in some way. And if that's the case, it's then a question of just, like, where and how far.
See, incoherent. If Marco follows into GTG, I'd be surprised if that's what he wanted to do, because he doesn't know that Strength 2 is in the lake. So, as far as he's concerned, playing Serenade would literally get him 2 checks. And going back across to GTG would get him the hook shot and bow checks, which still isn't everything in GTG, so I'm not 100% convinced.
I guess that the thing is, there's always the chance he just follows what Sponge did, though. Goes to Lake, goes, okay, I'll pick up these checks, and then I'll go and do... like, outside of that, he's got, like, handfuls of checks here and there, nothing really, like, thorough. I guess Ice Cavern would be the big one. But then picking up Strength 2 goes, okay, I need to change that play. You got to imagine both of them as well right now are going to be incredibly nervous. And I
Yeah,
guess
sure.
one of the big strengths here for kind of both runners, Sponge tends to be very laid back with a lot of things, but also has tournament experience from the SGL tournament last year, winning that one. And Marco, you know, been in finals twice now, won one of them. Like, Marco definitely, and that's only in Rando, that's not even including any other speedrunning OOT events. You'll struggle to find people who will be more confident in a tournament setting than these two, I think. But there are still going to be those little nerves kicking in. It's kind of always the way in any competitive game. It's like, if you're not getting nervous before a big match, then you're made of steel, or you're not taking it seriously enough. Those are your options. Like...
The hovers in the well.
Yeah,
We're missing
hovers...
one on the piece. Hovers are in the well, and Dins is on big pose.
Yeah, so...
No.
Who goes where first? Who gets led in the right direction first? And at this point, it's looking like Marco.
Yeah, I think I agree, Emo. I think well after GTG makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I do think that Sponge is smart enough to understand the logic of this seed and not get baited into anything ZL locked. And at which point, Marco is essentially has a bit of a time limit to find this Dins between the end of GTG and Sponge getting those hovers in the well, which I think will be a relatively direct play. Still needs to cross the desert. Oh God! Oh dear!
Terrible for Sponge.
Oh dear!
Well, now you definitely do trials. So now it's crossover, and then do crossover to get the song, then do trials, then do bottom of the well. And that's assuming, you know, I guess there's no bait left. There's nothing else that Sponge can get that can lead him astray at that point, at least.
So I'm just throwing it out there. Marco skipping hook shotless GTG saved them from getting that strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they could have potentially headed into Spirit with at the time. They might have potentially found the third strength in Lake and then gone to Ganon. So, yeah, massive, real massive item find there for Sponge. Not in a good way.
It's really interesting as well, like, saying about, you know, oh, Marco could have been led into Spirit. My first thought was like, I don't think you'd go there that far out of logic, though. And then it's like, so it kind of plays to reason that, you know, if you do hookshotless GTG, you're going out of logic. Would you then follow that into Spirit? Like, you're going further out of logic. Whatever, you're already out, like, pretty far. Whereas if you don't, well, if you're the type of person who wouldn't do Spirit, maybe you wouldn't do hookless GTG there. And yeah, the worst part for Sponge is definitely that this is all in logic. None of it has been ZL locked,
Yeah,
even
that's
logically.
There is a legitimate chance that there is a long shot here, and that would just be even worse. Really smooth kills, I like that there from Sponge.
BGS does make it a little easier, but yeah, that was definitely very clean on that. Easy way to throw time away, an easy way to feel bad about throwing time away that way. And yeah, the big question on Marco's end is, so he's going to pick up Zelda's Lullaby from Burning Kakariko. He's then going to check the... Oh, will he check the Composer Grave? I guess Marco has Nocturne. Sponge did it because it could have been Requiem.
Yeah, but Marco doesn't know that anything is ZL locked or anything, so if it's Requiem, it gets them to Spirit Temple, which might be a big thing. So there's no reason to not get the song, which is potentially Requiem.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So in that case, yeah, if Marco goes there, he'll find Serenade, and then the question is, does he play Serenade, or does he go leave Cac to go through field? If he leaves Kakariko to walk through field, that means he's getting a Poe on the way. If he plays Serenade, then it's a little more dicey for him. And then we have a race. I think if Marco leaves Kakariko on foot, Marco wins.
Alright, let's find out. So reverse into the graveyard. Nope.
Straight out.
Oh, straight to ice?
Bolero? Ice? Yeah. That was...
Not even getting the song.
I gotta be honest, that was not even on my radar. Like, I guess he's got Nocturne, he can go back and get that song very easily any other... Like... Is it just... It can't be just with the checks on the way as well, right?
I mean, I don't know. This could just be...
This
This could be a fairy world tour, I guess.
This is surprising. Very surprising right now.
I did not expect an instant Bolero. Of all things I expected,
No!
instant Bolero was not it.
Right? Like, I was like, there are two options here. You leave Kakariko on foot or you play Serenade, and it was neither. I was like, wait, I didn't account for this one. Like, what's happening? Sponge is presumably going to go to Ganon's. I don't see a world where you don't hear it. It's just,
There's no way you skip like trial.
It's too good.
Surely it's correct.
But then if Marco goes to Ice, then it's basically Sponge is only going to have bottom of the well at that point.
Oh, Sponge is doing toilet first.
Got all the keys. You kind of got to.
Right,
And that's kind of one of the things.
The fact that Marco is not playing Bolero again is telling me that they might not be going to ice, unless it's quicker to just jump down here and go into Broad Sea.
Not done either the storms check here or the left side of the hammer maze. So I think he's checking those on the way through, in which case I think it's jump down.
Alright, which way are you going, Marco? Probably into, yeah, Broad Sea, as you say. Get the left side check.
And then the question is, does he warp again, or does he... No, not even getting that
Not
left.
even getting the left side of the maze. That's weird.
Has he already got that? He might have already got that then.
How?
Did he come through here as adult earlier? He must have. He got Link to Goron.
Oh wait,
He has
no,
Hannah
yeah,
then.
no, yeah. Yeah, ignore me there, definitely.
Yeah.
So we've got an ice plague.
Then we have
which
Ice
is
Cavern.
Not what I
which
expected
is-
to happen at all.
And it's Requiem. We know it's Requiem. So Marco might end up going over to Child Spirit, at least.
Oh boy. Bets are off, everyone. This is no longer. I'm no longer any idea what's going on.
So I think the thing to say here is that Marco's going to finish Ice. At that sort of time, Sponge is going to be going through trials and will probably be... I would imagine Sponge will be leaving the boss key chest at a similar time to Marco getting King Zora. They are pretty much going to happen side by side. At that point, the question is then, where does Marco go next? And I can't imagine the answer is anything other than save warp, at which point you check pose.
Yeah.
So Sponge will go to the well, but I think that probably at this rate puts Marco a little ahead. But it's
Oh, I don't. What's faster?
so much to call. There's so much to call in the middle of it. I think Ganon's is faster for the most part, except for going up to the boss key chest. If the boss key chest is a key, it is. Marco got it. Marco got it earlier, right? Oh, but Sponge can't do Shadow Trial second.
They've got fire arrows.
Oh, he does. Yeah, okay.
Fire arrows is on the fortress.
Yep. Okay, so Sponge might actually, because he gets to skip the boss key chest, that might be a little bit of a different. That might be a little bit of an edge by not having to walk up there. Obviously, it's stuff that you're going to do later anyway, but...
Okay, that's Rose Wind.
Okay.
I don't really think it does
it
anything.
Change anything, you know.
It does mean that Marco can leave that in Ganon's castle, potentially, when they...
True,
No,
true.
they don't really need to. No, I guess there's no reason for that. Oh,
That's
that's a
a
long shot!
That's a long shot!
Oh, no.
Sponge isn't going to find it anywhere. Because Sponge should not be going to ice.
What the fuck is happening?
Sponge should never be going to ice at this point.
We're finding so many more items than we need to. We've essentially found everything at this stage.
Yeah. No, yeah, we've actually got... I guess no second scale, but otherwise anything that opens a check has been found. And we know, well, we haven't found Requiem, but we know we're about to on Marco's end, so... So just to clarify for people who weren't here earlier, by the way, the reason the long shot is relevant is that Sponge knows that this song and everything behind this are out of logic right now, except for having hover boots or long shot. So if he finds, and he's looking for hover boots, so if he found long shot, Spirit Temple becomes an option for him. The fact that the long shot is locked away behind his Zelda's Lullaby, which was locked by hovers, means that Sponge is never going to touch Spirit, or shouldn't at least.
I would have put money on us not seeing Ice Cavern this seed. I would have put a confident amount of money.
There was definitely a point in this, yeah, where it was like, okay, well, Zelda's burning cack, and it's locked by the 40 skull hook shot. We're never seeing ice, ever. Like, there's... it, yeah. And of course, we've ended up here anyway. See, this is the one, by the way. I'm gonna say this now, because this is one of those things that, like... I gotta vent about. I gotta rant sometimes. I feel like people expect that from me sometimes now. People always talk about, like, Stone Shadow or Bottom of the Well being bait, and, like, to me, those are just good plays. Ice Cavern is the bait. Ice Cavern is the one that is usually bad, but gets rated way higher than it should because of the song.
See, what interests me is that Marco chose to go to ice over getting the song in the graveyard.
I guess the song isn't valuable at this point.
I disagree.
The item checks are.
I think if you know that Requiem is in here, this pushes you slightly more towards ice than if you think Serenade is in here. Because you don't know that that Din's isn't in Spirit Temple, right? Or that there's a strength which leads you to GTG or something like that. Or the rest of Spirit. So I think the song, even though you are only looking for items at this stage, the song is still really valuable in terms of getting you to those areas. If you know that this is Serenade...
Oh, we have a Sponge copy play in Spirit, just in case he finds Long Shot. That's amazing. Sorry, so this is a play that Sponge will do quite regularly. Copying a save, and then just keeping it there in case he needs to do a dungeon later that is currently not worth doing. He'll just leave a save there, copy it, and then come back to that file later if he needs it.
So this is a Ganon's, and if that doesn't work, this is a Spirit play, right?
I don't think so. I think it's more if he gets Long Shot in Ganon's castle, then he can just load up the other save in Spirit, because it's now in Logic. But until he finds Long Shot, I don't think he's going to do it.
That's fair.
Also, yeah, to what you were saying, I agree that the songs are valuable information. The thing from Marco's end is that they're valuable because they lead you to checks. And Ice Cavern is also more checks at this point. So, and he's got Nocturne. So even if he comes here, finds no items, and gets Serenade, he can just play Nocturne and pick up the Composer Grave and get Requiem. Army of keys chasing Marco down.
It's fucking keys, man. Alright,
I
so
fully expect Sponge to have followed the logic here. I've got to say that much. Like, I don't think he'll... If it was like an ambiguous hover lock and fire, it would be one thing, but it was like, you have 0 keys, here's your boss key, go beat Volvagia. Like, it was not subtle. Also, definitely, I guess Sponge voided out on the way, but I was going to say, I definitely underestimated how long it would take to... I said Sponge would be just about finished with Trials when Marco was finishing with Ice, and
I mean,
well, he's just starting them.
To be fair, Sponge still had a good chunk of desert to do and get across there, so... Okay, Marco was going to unfreeze King Zora, and then it's all about the play then. The save quit would mean that Marco wins, in my opinion.
Yeah.
However,
Probably.
playing Requiem and Reverse Wastelanding is an option.
Yeah.
They do not have Serenade.
Nocturne into Serenade into Lake is very much an option.
Yeah,
but...
it is a play. I'd be surprised if they were fussed about checking the grave now, because they know it's Serenade.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just don't see a justification for getting Serenade at this stage. Oh, that's Requiem!
It's Requiem! Oh my god! This is dicey. This is incredible.
Oh my goodness.
It's just the fairy. Is this...
Now, remember when I said...
actually reversing?
Remember when I said at the start of this race, how on earth can we top last race of people just not finding their last item? Well...
Wow.
I think we are almost arriving at the situation where they are doing everything they can to avoid their last time.
The thing is, it's interesting because, like, all of these plays make perfect sense from their position, right? Sponge knows that he needs hovers or spirit, but he's going to leave the save there in case he finds the long shot here. But the fact that he found Strength 2 in Logic, and then that led to Strength 3 in Logic, like, he's going to do Training Grounds, he's going to do Ganon's Castle. Marco, missing Dins, is going to go and chase that Zelda's Lullaby because he's not locked by that. So it makes perfect sense from both of their positions, but it's leading us to this absolute wild hunt for 2 completely different items, and it's just how long does it take Sponge to do bottom of the well? How long does it take Marco to basically save quit?
And honestly, this is really bad for Marco because they're going to find Strength 2 in GTG. And again, they don't give a crap about Zelda's Lullaby logic, so they could just go to Spirit. And why wouldn't you at that point? Why wouldn't you go to Spirit after finding Strength 2?
Right, it's not even locked.
No reason to save quit after GTG if you're in Marco's shoes at this point. No reason. Spirit is the biggest area afterwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Unless if Sponge sticks to the logic that
I was about to say
he needs hovers before he can get ZL, then Sponge wins.
I was about to say Marco's saving grace might be wanting a fire source for Spirit, but he's going to get one here. The fire arrows are right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a roller coaster. This has been so up and down all over the place. But I've got to give the edge back to Sponge now with this. Like, the Gerudo training ground play here from Marco is just... yeah, not what he wanted. Like, I feel like I really need to emphasize as well, this isn't... neither of these players, honestly, has made, like... There were some very small mistakes. We mentioned the Storm's Grotto in Kakiri Forest for both of them earlier. They both, skipped over it once. There have been small mistakes, but, their execution has been absolutely impeccable, as I guess you would expect from a match of these two. Even within a very good top 32 bracket, these are two of the best execution players.
Okay.
Their decisions make sense.
Right. Sponge, I thought Sponge was going to do the last check into Light Trial there, because they just found their last key. And they didn't. So I think they know and are confident about the Zelda's Lullaby logic. So that is a really good indication for Sponge that they are aware that it cannot be behind ZL. Otherwise, they would have checked that right then and there.
I would imagine, yeah, that makes perfect sense. The blue fire is then curious, but I imagine it's just one of those, I might have misread something somewhere, and if I have, then I want this.
Dean, that can't be a key because this chest still exists. It's either this or that.
This is, in fact, the other key.
And this is the key, so... Yeah, and they're not.
And he's leaving, and that was a save quit.
It's a save quit, so they could just leave this section back into Light Trial, I guess.
True.
It can't be Water Shadow, because water is foolish.
Right, and Spirit is locked by Hover Boots or Longshot. And the Longshot... Wait, he loaded the Spirit save!
Oh, he's going to Spirit! Oh, shit!
Spirit save!
Baby!
Sponge, what? You must not... Why would you skip the Light Trial chest and then do Spirit?
That doesn't make any sense.
What?
Okay, no one is in the lead anymore.
Oh my god.
No one's in the lead anymore. And Marco is back in...
He's gonna get serenaded! He's gonna get serenaded and do and get strength and... Wait, he left... Marco didn't do...
What has happened? Did they...
Marco didn't do GTG. He got the fire arrows and left.
What?
So he's coming here to do this with fire arrows, but not the song.
I'm lost for words. I'm not sure about you. Greg, GG. They've just immediately quit. So are they just going to spawn back in GTG?
I guess so. I guess that was just
They didn't get the song. They didn't give a crap about the song.
Right, just an instant, I'm going to go check this, and then I'll reset. And just checks that.
Sponge is saved.
Reset again. Go back to the GAN and save. Go back to the GAN and save. Oh my god, this is...
They found a key, so they can go further up. So I'm not sure if they know the logic. Oh man, my brain hurts. They're back in Ganon's castle!
Save. Okay. I don't understand.
Why would they bother checking the ZL lock, checking Spirit?
The key was ZL locked, Requiem is ZL locked, so...
Yeah, but why would they even bother checking it? If they know that's the case, why did they check it in the first place?
But he doesn't realize that... No, but he doesn't... Oh my god, did he think... I guess... Okay, this actually... No, this does make a lot of sense. Not a lot, but some. He's basically going, if I find the long shot, this is all in logic anyway. So I'm going to do it now and just rule it out. But by seeing that it was ZL locked, he goes, okay, this is 100% locked behind exactly hovers. So it's out of logic. I'm never doing it.
Yeah, but there's no need to do the ZL check at all. You can just go to the boulder room and confirm the exact same information.
True. Very true.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the well from Sponge? Yes, this is the well from Sponge. So
time limit on Marco, and I think that's probably in Sponge's favor now. I think this is basically it.
Yeah, Marco has approximately 5 minutes to get Dins.
Is that? I would imagine Sponge is going to do full clear strats for the bottom of the well. So you get the front, go mode strat. So you're looking for your like one item. So you get the front 2, you go to the right, get the center, then go back. So it should be, I think, the 5th check he does, roughly. People always have different ways around bottom of the well. It's one of the ones that has really dynamic routing depending on who you ask, what position of the seed you're in, like a billion things. But either way, Sponge is not going to be doing Dead Hand. He's not going to be going into the basement. He's going to get to skip them. This is going to be a very fast exit for Sponge, and straight to Temple of Time. Serenade into Temple of Time, I guess. And then Nocturne, Shadow.
So what's even worse for Marco is that they pick up Strength 2 here and have to go back to do the Strength 2 checks.
Right, because he didn't do Lake.
But they did set Burrow's Wind there, so it's
straight
not
back in now.
bad.
Yeah.
But they are going to do Toilet, almost certainly, and that's, that is at least a minute and a half. Probably more.
Sponge is doing the left side. The, compass? I always forget what's what in bottom. I think it's the compass.
At this point, I know nothing about vanilla checks.
I need to learn those. I started playing beta class. I need to learn those. Oh my god. This has been an absolute roller coaster, and we mentioned, they were going to be nervous. Like, I'll be honest, I don't think I've spoken to Marco before about nerves in tournament races. I know Sponge gets very nervous. Sponge definitely will be feeling this one.
Sponge arguably taking the longest route possible to get to this one check.
Skipped even playing ZL as well.
Yeah,
like, yeah, no, 100% certain at this stage for sure.
And there are the hovers, and out we go.
We did see Nehru's Love. Sponge got it. I don't remember where.
Nehru's Love was on the right side of GTG. They both have it.
Right. Yeah, Marco probably gonna do the toilet after this.
Yeah.
It feels right for how thorough he's been, and how thorough he kind of has to be at this point. He's got to be running low on options. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, yes, there can be some mistakes in Shadow potentially to cost Sponge some time, but I don't think there's ever going to be so many that it's this much. Especially not in a race like this.
So, I'm not entirely sure they meant to play for All's Wind, I'll be honest. And that's Spirit, that's game.
He's leaving. Yeah, he is leaving, and leaving the FW in case of Heroes.
Unless that's the fastest song they can play to save quit, that's game.
It might be.
No,
it is, but also, yeah, that is a Spirit play, so... Unbelievable. Sponge is going to be making some enemies of the French community. He's taking out Necro and now Marco? Back to back?
The entire French restream team knocked out by one person.
Jimbo69 coming in strong.
Who'd have thought? Fortunately for Shadow, you can't really skip much. There is the opportunity to skip the back of Shadow, but we will see if there's any room to go mode Shadow at all. There is a very perfect layout in which you can skip like the latter third, but even then it's like so rare that you get to do that.
My favorite play in Shadow that I think I've only ever gone for like twice, and it worked one of those times, is leaving an FW near the start and skipping the first silver rupee room. Because
Fuck
if
that.
you kill the redeads halfway through, you don't have to do the rupees. So you like kill the redeads, get to the you actually leave FW at the end. You don't leave it at the start. You leave FW like later in if you need to go back. But you just like skip ahead and do the redead room.
Yeah. I've actually been looking at the sometimes hint and creating some changes for sort of debate and discussion, and one of my changes is replacing the Shadow Floormaster hint with the pot room.
With the hookless strats, I think that makes sense. Otherwise, I would say either remove, like Shadow doesn't need one, same way Forest doesn't need one, same way Deku and DC don't need them, or just replace it with Bongo. If it's a stone shadow and you don't want to dip into the Floormaster, you don't want to dip into Bongo even less.
Sometimes hint for the boss.
You absolutely could.
Nah, no way.
Why is there one for the Floormaster? To be fair, I don't think Forest and Shadow need them. I really think, like, Forest, Shadow, Deku, DC, you're just doing every check every time you go there, like, for all of those. Or you're in go mode and you just get to skip them anyway. Yeah, so Sponge does have every required item to finish, just has to beat Shadow, go to Ganon. Did climb the tower as well, so doesn't even have that tiny time loss to make up, because he did Ganon's. Marco, it's funny that, yo, that strat is so good. It's been a long time since I've seen someone do that, and even longer in Rando. Yeah. Marco kind of the victim here of missing the wrong item. The fact that Sponge missed the hovers meant he could skip everything locked by Zelda's Lullaby. But Marco missing Dins meant that, yeah, he's ended up basically going on a world tour here.
What else can we even find anything at this point? Other than the
Old scale, I guess, like more bomb bags and bows and...
So I know we're 2 bows deep at least.
Hmm.
I don't know if we've seen any other bomb bags.
Don't think we have, just the main Way of the Hero one. It's been a really fun seed. Just to clarify as well, for people who don't know, this is a double elimination tournament with winner's bracket still. So Sponge will move on in winner's bracket at this rate. Marco is not out the tournament. He will still be able to fight through. And potentially fight through to the rematch later on. So there's definitely a lot of storylines to build. There's still a lot to play for on both ends. More games. It's definitely a harder path on the loser side, but it's there. It is an option, and we've seen 2 of the 3 seasons so far have had a run back from loser side to win in the finals, so...
Also, worth highlighting that the bottom half of winner's bracket is ridiculous.
It is
absolutely
stacked.
Ridiculous. The winner of this plays Mr. Mario, who is seed 3. And the winner of that could potentially play Pink Kitty Rose or Holy Sparks, seeds 2 and 10. The bottom half was absolutely stacked. I cannot believe it.
It's funny because I remember saying earlier in the tournament that there's like, obviously your top players, you're looking at like your higher seeds have definitely done really well in season 4. And then like you've got a lot of players who have been historically good, and the 2 players who really stood out to me as being underseeded are both in the bottom quarter of this bracket. It's Sponge and Phoenix Feather. Phoenix Feather fell to Mr. Mario. Sponge, well, Sponge is showing why, I guess. People think he's underseeded.
I mean, hell, you could argue that Marco and Bonnaroo are underseeded at 6th and 7th, season 2 and season 3 champions.
Right. Oh, this will lead to another French community showdown for Riadrim in loser side. Be the one to face Marco here.
And even the follow-up to that will also be French.
Yeah, actually.
It's say or queso.
It's an all-French bubble again, damn.
And even then, the winner of that faces Ryu Kane or Cariosa, so it could just be...
It could just going.
Be a complete French losers bracket runoff.
Like, that's hardly surprising, I guess, given the strength of the French community in Rando, but like... I don't know, just to be all stacked together that much.
It's funny, because in the Challenge Cup, there aren't actually that many French players, because they all got into the fucking top 32.
I was gonna say, like, I did commentary for one of Riadrim's, and I was like, oh, Riadrim last year was in Challenge Cup, made the bracket, lost in, like, the first round of the bracket. But, like...
My sponge stream has died.
Is it Redrim? Redrim? Oh.
The sponge stream died for everyone else.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. And we're back.
There we go. All of a sudden, the sponge is in Ganon's castle. We're like, hang on.
Not quite, not quite.
Wrong.
So we didn't get a massive cut either. We didn't lose 15 minutes or anything. For anyone who doesn't know, the runners are on a 15-minute delay, so a stream cutting can potentially cause issues. Hasn't in this scenario, thankfully. And yeah, Sponge is just going to continue on through Shadow. But yeah, so Redrum, yeah, last year I was like, oh, it was in the Challenge Cup last year. This year made that step up to top 32, and then it's like, you look at the other players. Tompus made the step up to top 32. Tom 32. You know, Seisei wasn't playing that actively during previous seasons. Now in top 32. Like, yeah, there's just a lot of players who've made that step up into the bracket from the French community.
I mean, I think the biggest step up was PKR.
For sure, right?
Wins Challenge Cup and is now seeded second.
I think that was reasonably expected, though. PKR winning Challenge Cup, maybe not second seed, but like qualifying definitely. PKR, like, as soon as Challenge Cup finished, everyone was just like, yeah, PKR's like clearly ridiculously good right here. Like, PKR was always going to be a favorite to make it. The one call I made that I'm really proud of too is before Challenge Cup started last season, I was like, Felix is top 32 next year. Felix has been improving too much. He's top 32 next year, like, without a doubt. And that was the call I made, like, yeah, over a year ago, and I'm damn happy to have been right about that.
The third bowl.
The last bow. Oh, jeez.
So there was one bow locked bow, but the other two were both favor.
Mm-hmm.
And we're almost done with Shadow for Sponge, just a boat ride.
Marco's not going to get dins. He's just going to get strength 3 here.
Well, if they get strength 3, they're still going to get dins, right? Because they can't use Prelude.
Oh, it's true, I guess. Yeah, he save quits back, gets the Poe on the way, gets dins, yeah. Yeah, I guess that's actually a pretty good direction for him then.
But I'm not sure if... Do we have the boss key on Sponge's side? Because if we do, we can skip the rest of Shadow.
I'm going to be honest, I've not paid too much attention because Shadow, but I think so. Okay, Jason says yeah, so I'm gonna say yeah.
Cheeky bit of shadow skip then. Not often.
It's not often we watch the whole of this cutscene.
Marco finds Dins before Sponge exits Shadow. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It would make sense, right? You get the Poe on the way in. You get... Unless he just backwalks straight there to just go to the castle immediately and doesn't call Epona. Yep, sure enough.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, that's... This feels terrible for Marco, for sure. Damn. Like, it's rough, but like... I've said it before and I'll say it again. I completely understand every single play that's been made this game. Except maybe Sponge checking Spirit. That one was a little, questionable. But... yeah, no. This makes perfect sense for Marco's shoes. Like, this is like half the checks you have left in the game at this point, and it's all in logic. I do wonder, that's another thing that's actually come up a few times that I always question the merits on. If your way of the heroes are all pointing to like early game stuff that you've already got, how late do you push your items? None of their strengths were way of the hero.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. See, because Epona's was on Way the Hero Cat, I don't think I would have ever skipped Dins this seed. I know that Hammer was there, and obviously that makes perfect sense. But I think just in case, you always just sort of, well, not obviously always. I haven't seen it here, but I think I would check Pose fairly quickly.
I think the big one for me was when Marco went back to do GTG the second time. And he chose to reverse to get the fairy in Colossus when he could have save quit to get Pose.
Yeah.
I think at that point, you want to just grab both of those. I think at that stage, you just save quit, you get the big Poe, you ride over to GTG, and then you cross over. If you want to go quick at the fairy fountain afterwards, like, obviously, we know that you've got strength 2, fire arrows, so he can check the wasteland, can then cross, but like at that point, like, you know you're leaving behind one of those two checks for basically the end game, and that just feels like too much of a gamble to me. Again, I get it, I understand it from Marco's shoes. I completely understand it, because rush density can be an incredibly strong play. It's just, I don't know, it's a hard call to make as well. Sponge remembering to dip into Temple of Time to get the boss key. Always good.
Alright, well, we've just hit the 3-hour mark, and we are now on our approach to Ganon's castle. 5 more minutes to go.
I guess with that, our wonderful trackers today are just about done, but another thanks to Siberian and Ginger Sunny for helping out with the tracking, bringing you the layouts on the stream that tell you every item that everyone has. Could not do it without everyone working on this behind the scenes.
Also, it's worth mentioning that this seed wasn't that bad.
It actually wasn't.
It's a Jason seed, which is very surprising. So, both of today's seeds were actually perfectly fine, but the runners chose to make them really bad.
This one, this one had a lot of bait potential, and they both just walked into all of it.
Yeah, the second you do any of GTG past the first hookshot room, you're fucked, because you just run into bait after bait after bait at that point.
Mm-hmm. Right, and for Sponge it was the Or for both of them, I guess, at this point, because Marco's there now, but the lake as well was, like, really costly.
Yeah, added strength. Marco decided, well, Marco didn't have any idea about the Zelda's Lullaby logic, of course, so they went to ice. They found the long shot, which was not the best find. Didn't really do much, so obviously water was completely foolish to see. Also, 16 hearts.
16 hearts each as well. Like, it's always one of those things with a seed where you can kind of tell how bad it's been by who has, or like, sorry, you can tell generally who's done more by who has more hearts. So like, you can tell if somebody kind of got a little bit lucky with a race, or like their routing was just that little bit more efficient. If they're, or sorry, that little bit more aggressive and paid off. If they have fewer hearts but win. In this one, it's like, no, they've both just done everything. Like, they've both just done the whole game. Oh,
There's
a bomb bag.
Strength 3 lock bomb bag.
Wait. Bombs in Zora's Domain were Way of the Hero. That was Strength 1 again. That was Corridor Valley. One in GTG was only hookshot locked. I think the bomb bag was only Way of the Hero.
I mean, it's because there was a strength directly behind beams, right? Or, well, I guess it was behind hookshot.
You could get the hookshot and go the other way around, yeah.
Interesting logic.
I love it, yeah. Marco going over to, I assume, Child Spirit.
Yes, just abandoned pose. Just to the end of the seed at this stage.
Just a full world tour here. We've seen just about every location in the game that isn't foolish.
Couple minutes to go then, and Marco will be down into losers bracket very early in this. I don't think anyone expected that, regardless of competition.
Right, Marco's definitely done a little worse in season, the tournaments before this, but this still would have been a hell of a prediction to make. Then again, Sponge is a very strong player. We said at the start that this could very easily be like a grand finals caliber match, and it's lived up to it in more ways than one.
French vanilla. Double defense feels good.
It's only 2 hearts, damn.
And get your GGs, everyone, for the Salty Sponge, beating Marco in winners bracket round 2. The time of 3:05:47. GG to Salty Sponge. Is season 4 going to be won by just some random Jimbo 69? We're one step closer to finding out. Meanwhile, Marco is back in the well.
ZL checks. I guess he's just convinced at this point that Dins has to be ZL locked, and yeah.
Channel points for days. GG's on those that predicted the right winner. Unsure if how long Marco's going to go on for. They could just continue, finish the seed. 1.4 million channel points being divvied up.
Yeah, Diesel are going in with 150,000 on Sponge there. Cashing in.
There's a ton of
Jeez.
points. And we are joined by Marco and the Salty Sponge. GG, great race.
Hey,
GG's to both of
Sponge.
you.
GG, Marco.
Thanks.
So at this point, Marco, do you know where Dins is?
Yeah, I just got it like 2 minutes ago in Big
Fair
Bow.
enough. I'm still catching up here.
That was a hell of a race from our end, but like the plays you both made perfect sense in the shoes you were in, like in the positions you were in.
Mm-hmm.
But the game handed you everything to just get led astray on both ends. Kind of the big saving
Yeah.
grace there, I guess, was Sponge, you missing the hovers told you a lot more for the logic.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking when I got the Dins on Big Poe, I'm like, okay, well, there's no guarantee that Marco gets this because of where the bows were. So this could be an advantage for me. And then when I got ZL and Burning Cack locked behind Hovers Locked Fire, I could basically eliminate half the game.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a real deal breaker in this seed. It ultimately came down to how fast Sponge ran out of un-ZL locked checks to how fast, essentially, Marco, that you save quit. Because obviously from Ranched back to Ganon's or whatever it might be, the chances of you getting Dins was pretty high. But yeah, just strengths baited everyone for at least 45 minutes longer than they needed to, I think.
So how did you route Big Pose?
I actually screwed up my skull routing, and I was one short of getting the hook shot.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna get the one outside of Ganon's castle because it's the only one I could think of to get. So I save quit to get it, and Epona was just sitting outside the ranch. So like, I did
Oh.
Big Pose at the same time.
Oh, I see. I never had any opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. The only opportunity you had to do it, Marco, was unfortunately it's too late by then. When you were heading into light
Other
trial for
trials?
the first time, but
Yeah.
ultimately it was just a little too late.
Yeah, when I
again-
got third strength, it was too late already, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even finding second strength made it too late because at that point you just had so many more options. You know, you already had Requiem from going to Ice, so going back to Spirit made sense.
Yeah.
Finishing off GTG made sense. So yeah, it was just a long trail of bait.
And so I guess it feels like a while ago now, but the seed started with that kind of 40 skull hook shot. I'm gonna guess I know the answer to this already, but just in case, did you both just immediately think, okay, I've got to go and get this, or was there like that part of you that kind of putting it off a bit just in case you found the other one?
Yeah, I was.
You can go.
Yeah, go on.
All right, I'll go. So I was like kind of half and half on it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna rush to 20, 100%, and kind of just like do checks along the way. And then like, I didn't really have a lot left that I liked, and a lot that was in logic. Like I had GTG left, which scared me because I figured, okay, like Marco could make a play, like he gets this scale in graveyard, goes child, like immediately goes to domain, grabs bomb bag, and now he can do hookless. Whereas I probably got that later than he did. And so I'm like, okay, well GTG kind of scares me. If there's a hookshot in GTG, I've probably just lost anyway at this point. So I'm just gonna push it at this point and just hope that it's required.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same for me. At first, I didn't rush the skulls at all. Didn't feel too necessary, but it's just one of those seeds. It's just hang on, I'm playing at the same time, so. But yeah, at first I didn't rush them. I pretty much the same as Sponge. I was trying to get quick to 20 skulls. But like my beginning of the seed was really bad because I missed Rudos later for a while, and then I did a bunch of child and adult switches. And when I got the 40 skulls, I pretty much had nothing left in logic anyway. So I just did all the skulls, kept doing them, until I had no checks left, pretty much. So
yeah, I think there was at one point Sponge had changed ages twice, and you were on your 6th age change just because of that Ruto's letter.
yeah.
It was really like I can't remember the exact routing that Sponge took to get it. I think it was pretty much solely because Sponge, you stayed as adult for a bit longer when you found the hammer, and sort of into the Kokiri sword and all that jazz. Marco, you didn't. You chose to go back as child instead of dipping any of DC or any of Goron City, so didn't find the Kokiri sword, and then that just sort of pushed a bit of back and forth for you there. It meant that you did Valley Lake a lot better, but obviously at that point, rerouting South Hyrule was like really difficult to do.
Yeah. I could have done
you
it.
done it
I could have
beforehand?
save warped to go do Valley, but I just after I did Richard, I just left Market to go Valley. So then, yeah, I got the letter on the way to GTG like an hour in. That was really bad. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
wanted to
actually,
stay child when I got the to go back child when I got the hammer because all of the Goron City stuff was out of logic, and I had Zora's domain with hero, so.
Yeah, I think
I actually kind of figured that you wouldn't go up DMT with hammer
Yeah.
and 5 shoes. That's why I did specifically.
Nice.
I thought I hit the jackpot when I hit Kokiri's sword, and then it just turned out to just give me bomb shoes.
yeah, which just led into a bomb bag anyway. I think that obviously one of the bigger things was the boomerang. Obviously, you couldn't do anything with it, but the fact that you found the boomerang first and then you found Rulo's letter meant that your Jabu was done. You know, technically under was it Child 2? I think you had Jabu done.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it also just meant you could be a little more efficient with that skull routing when you did get the hint. Like, you got the hint a little later, but you had the boomerang when you got the hint.
Yeah.
By the way, shout outs to both of you almost missing the bow in Kokiri Forest. There at one point, I thought, Marco, you just completely forgot about it, and I almost screamed out loud. Sponge, you did the same thing, but at the time we didn't know it was the bow. We were like, oh, Sponge just skipped Forest Storms bow. That's weird. That doesn't make any sense. And then about 3 minutes later, you went back and got it, and it was the first bow, and we were like, oh my god, the bailout was enormous.
I'm like, holy shit. Because I knew I forgot it. Like, I went through the Lost Woods to, I think, Goron City. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to get the Storms Grotto. And so, like, I was just thinking of any excuse to route it back in that wasn't terrible. And it's like, okay, I'll just do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The rerouting of it was bad, but there was no real choice at that point. I have to get this. But yeah, Marco, you obviously were on full skull hunt mode at that point, so you just went straight out of Lost Woods, jumped down to the dirt patch, ran all the way out. You had a little. Did you realize when you almost left that you'd forgot it? Because you had a little sort of stutter at the end.
Yeah, I did realize, but then I thought it's okay. I'll just go back as an adult because I had my skill routing planned, and I was gonna go back there anyway to go do Fire Temple. So yeah, it was okay.
It did look like you forgot. We're like, oh my god, is he going to play Sun Song to walk back up there and get it, or is he just going to leave? No, he's left. Oh shit.
Yeah, but I was going to go back for sure.
Oh,
Thanks.
that's right. You had hover boots, so you could get into fire and get those.
Yeah, I actually got my 40th skull in Fire Temple, but it was like the first one, so.
By the way, for the first sort of third of Fire Temple, you were frame for frame in doing the same things.
Nice.
Which is weird because at that point Marco hadn't done any of Forest and you'd finished it, Sponge. But you were literally identically going through Fire Temple. It's incredible.
Both
So
in very different positions, but yeah, like frame by frame next to each other.
Damn, so I had the whole Forest Temple behind Sponge.
Yeah, but you'd already got Nocturne at that point, so you'd gone across the desert to pick up Nocturne, and you already had Hovers, whereas Sponge hadn't done the well and hadn't gone across the desert, so there was still a lot of extra things for Sponge to do. But yeah, obviously in terms of just raw progression at that point, it was essentially a Forest Temple.
Damn, I could have done Big Pose actually after getting ZL. Would have been the only time I could have done it.
Yeah, that's when we thought you were going to do it. We thought when you got ZL, me, Yoshi, and Chat were like, okay, there's two plays here. You go and get the song from the graveyard, or you leave Cac by the front, and you probably get Dins. And then you played Bolero, and our collective minds exploded because that was none of us predicted a Bolero play at that point.
Yeah, I didn't see much reason to do the graveyard song because even if I get Requiem, what I'm gonna do with it? At that
Fair.
point, I didn't have the strength. I could have done the Colossus, I guess, but I don't know. I was just rushing density. So I did ice right away. I know when there's just one item left in the whole game, I had everything open. Doing big pose was... I could have done it to be safe, but it's just super slow for just one check.
Yeah, like I say earlier, it made perfect sense. Like, everything you were both doing made so much sense in the positions you were in. The only difference was what you'd missed along the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sponge kind of having the hovers as go mode was just such a massive thing. There were some parts where we were like a little confused. Sponge, the dip into Spirit and the save there, the file copy, and then going back there for the first 2 checks. Was that in case you'd found the long shot on the way?
Yes, that's in case the long shot was in logic.
Mhm.
Because if the long shot isn't ZL locked, then crossing to Spirit is in logic. And then Hover Booth could be in Spirit, because 2 strengths aren't ZL locked. Actually, all 3 strengths aren't ZL locked. And so it's, okay, I'm not gonna... And then I got the key in the compass chest, and the boulder chest was nothing, and so I knew that in order to progress in Spirit, you needed ZL, so the whole dungeon was just barren.
I was a little confused as why you even checked the ZL chest at that point, because if you'd have just done the boulder chest, obviously you were locked regardless, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to make, like, absolute 100% sure that I wasn't being a dingus, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get you.
We figured the blue fire pickup in Ganon's was the same. It's like,
yeah, I'm here, I'm just gonna pick it up in case, like, I misread something, because, like, I was 99% certain, like, okay, King Zora is not in logic and Way of the Hero Domain, but, like, what if there's some, like, I don't know, like, I always like to, it's to the detriment of myself, but I'm always, like, super, like, safe about things like that, just because I do make mental mistakes pretty often.
Gotta say, a play that I never thought I'd see in my entire life from you, Marco, was going from GTG to the Composer Grave with fire arrows, and then quitting back to GTG. That was one hell of a safe quit.
Oh, yeah. I just got Fire Arrow. And I thought Graveyard is Way of the Hero. I might as well just check that real quick. Yeah. The safe
guess-
scum sometimes is good.
so Necro's in chat talking about it, and we mentioned it as well. I guess we can talk about the bracket as well. Sponge, you're not going to get to take out the rest of like. There's no more French commentary team to take out, so.
I'm sorry, man. It's just how it be.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I guess we will say though, Sponge, your next opponent, Mr. Mario. Any major thoughts on that one?
I'm excited. I mean, I was really excited to play this match, and I'm excited to play a match further than Winners Round 2 for the first time in my season tournament career, I guess you could say. So I'm excited. Should be a fun one.
And so Marco, on the other hand, you do get a French community showdown against Redrim.
Oh, nice.
We were actually saying earlier, there's like a kind of, you know, understandably, a lot of French runners in top 32. It's going to happen, but it was Redrim versus Tom, and then you against Redrim now, and then the winner of your match there plays the winner of Seisei versus Keizo. So
And
there's
Keizo
just
was
a
against
whole
Zelda,
showdown.
which is French too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
French
Yeah.
team killing each other.
I think that was
And then the loser of Ryuke and Kariosa after that. Like, it just keeps going.
Oh, damn.
Um,
I mean,
I'm
it's
a little-
okay. It's just prove that so many French people are in the bracket.
mhm.
I'm a little concerned about how long that match is going to take, considering your first race was 3:55, and Riadrim's was 3:58. So I'm worried that you're going to get some 4.5 hour monster.
That would be crazy.
And let's face it, we've seen enough shit with Season 4 that it could definitely squeeze out a plus 4 hour.
Yeah, it's kind of wild on this end. We were saying earlier, you know, that this match could have easily been grand finals and nobody would have thought anything of it. It's like, this is a grand finals caliber match that's just happening in winners round 2. It kind of feels like the way season 4 is a little bit, is there are going to be a couple of high profile matches, a couple of high variance matches. I guess as a last thought then, like how confident, how good are you feeling both going through this?
I'm feeling pretty confident. You know, about as confident as I usually feel going into any race. You know, I know that I've practiced a lot to get to where I am. I've stolen almost all of Marco's strats. Thank you very much, by the way.
using them against me.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in my ability. Hopefully, I get far.
I'm also pretty confident. It's just rando, so sometimes you're gonna get screwed. But I think I'm still really good execution-wise and stuff, and routing-wise. But I don't know, I feel like S4 has been, I don't know if it's like more luck-based, or maybe people are getting better. Probably a combo of the both of the two, I don't know.
I would agree.
That's fair. Yeah.
On the plus side, Sponge, if you do lose, you do potentially get to take out Necro and Marco again. If you really want to jump on the attacking the French commentary train, then you can just fully eliminate them 0 for 2.
Please, no more.
You lose to next match.
I was gonna say, if you want to really like hit the French community completely, like if you lose to Mr. Mario, you're Banuru potentially. Like.
Well, I better not lose.
Yeah, maybe don't aim for it. Just, you know, backup plan. No, that was a really, really fun race to watch. Like we say, the early game seemed so fast as well, and then it was the seed led you everywhere, and there was just so much potential to get led astray, and so much potential for this to be incredibly quick, which I guess kind of lends to what you were saying of part of it will be luck based of rando being rando sometimes, but part of it is, you know, that logic that like both of you had incredible execution, as I guess we kind of expected would happen. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say at least, but GG to both of you, that was an incredible race.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, today was pretty wild for races overall. We won't go over the spoilers for the race that was before this one, but needless to say, it's been a very entertaining day for Rando.
Putting it lightly. Yeah.
So quickly get the schedule for the next few races. Let's have a look at what's coming up. It's a wrong sheet.
I just had the bracket page open and seen this result go in.
Next
Jimbo
race.
69 moving on.
Next race is Cariosa versus Ryukane on Friday at 8 o'clock UTC, 8 p.m. UTC. And on the same day, we've got Holy Sparks versus PKR at 11 o'clock UTC. Both of those are going to be excellent races. Again, I think PKR is someone that a lot of people have their eyes on as, you know, coming into this as second seed. Winner of the Challenge Cup last year and now seemingly dominating Season 4, so that's going to be insanely hype against Holy Sparks, who has essentially come from the Scrubs tourney and made an immense trail up to 10th seed, I believe. And Cariosa, I think, is someone that people could, you know, would be not surprised if they won the whole thing. I think Cariosa's been fairly consistent throughout Season 3 and Season 4. And against Ryukane, again, is from the Scrub side of things. So, yeah, two really hype matches coming in for Friday. And the weekend, once again, is stacked. Kevin versus Phoenix Feather, Seisei versus Keizo, Felix versus Zupal, Dylan versus Banuru, which oh my god, that race is going to be incredible. I cannot wait for that one. That's
Yeah, we are apparently over the halfway mark as well in terms. going by quickly, but it's... Well, that still means there's half to go, right?
On the volunteer side of things, now that we are at least a round through, things might calm down a little bit in terms of not having to do 9 races per day. But it's still plenty of hype to come. But yeah, that's it from me. Jason, I'm not sure if you want to wrap things up, unless you guys have anything else to say.
No, I'm all good.
Nice.
No. Yeah, good.
Right, yeah, good luck to both of you going forwards.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Alright, cool. So yeah, I think Chimp laid it out pretty easily as far as what's coming up for the S4 tournament. On this channel, in roughly half an hour, there's going to be a Twilight Princess Any % tournament seeding race. There was one scheduled for earlier today, but there weren't enough runners, and so this will be the first restreamed race for it. And that will be happening, like I said, in about half an hour. But otherwise, yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I'm gonna take a look at one thing really quick. Because if I recall, yep, I'm going to be heading us over to the Silver Gauntlets, which has a Challenge Cup match going on at the moment. They've been going on for almost 3 hours, so there's quite a bit that's been missed for it, but it's still fun and exciting. They're still a part of the S4 tournament side of things. But just in general, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to our trackers, Siberian and Ginger Sony, and our commentators, Chimp and Reeve and Yoshikian. Of course, our runners, TheSaltySponge or Jimbo69 and Marco. And thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you on ZSR, like I said, in about half an hour. Until then, take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Every night.